welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast with your hosts, Daniel.
And Daniel.
Daniel, I'm glad I'm not hungry for today's episode.
Yeah, because we're going to be talking about a lot of food.
That's right. Just jumping straight into the topic today, we have a fun episode with another top 8 debate. And if you've been listening to our podcast and you've been following with us in real time, you know that today is the beginning of turkey gobble season, or also known here in the United States, Thanksgiving or something like where you show that we appreciate things. I don't know. I'm thankful we do this podcast.
I'm thankful that I only have to deal with you twice a week, not like your wife who has to deal with you for the rest of her life.
Yeah. For the rest. She contractually obligated for that now.
But in all honesty, I am grateful for the podcast, for our viewers and listeners. It has been a wild ride, let me tell you.
Yeah. We've been seeing some recent growth, which is great. We love it.
In Delaware?
Yeah, in Delaware of all places. So our listeners, to the ones in Delaware, thank you for subscribing and downloading our episodes. We really do appreciate you.
Everybody else, the ones who show up, the ones that just found us, thank you. To the designers and publishers that comment on our reviews and stuff like that, thank you. We're grateful for you guys.
We really are. That's one of the best things about this podcast and what we do about it. And, there's so many different levels of people that are getting involved now and want to see that mutual, respect. We love other podcasters. We love other board game review channels. We watch other Twitch streamers and stuff. And we just love it when people comment on everything that we do. And especially when the designers come in, and they see our reviews, whether it's good or bad, we appreciate them letting us know. Because it's not a criticism on them or the publishers. It's always just, a criticism on specifically the game.
And I think a big thing about it, too, it's, again, it's just our opinion. You take it with a grain of salt. But also with our reviews, we try to take as much bias out of it by using the criteria we're going to be using this episode as well. So
that's right. So I'll use a personal example of why I appreciate it, right? Obviously, not every game is for every person. And there'll be some games that we debate here. And we do, for our top 8 debate, we do criticize the games. But they are ranked highly on Board Game Geek for a reason, right? Yeah. And if you like those games, you like those games for that reason. And so I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Thing 12, right? Because later, either this month, we're currently filming in October. It's about two-thirds through October right now, and either later this month or early next month or something like that, they should be getting a new game that I designed. So, of course,
that would be the second one that they're publishing.
The second one that they're publishing. They first printed Matches. Now they're going to be printing Hit Me, and this is their first one that is going directly to retail. It's not doing a Kickstarter. This is their first foray into it, and I hope it works out for them. Yeah. And of course, I'm eternally thankful for that. And I also know that this game is a press your luck party game, right? It's not something that is taken seriously. We play a lot of serious games, a lot of heavy strategy games and stuff. This is very much not that, and I am looking forward to seeing how criticism will portray that quite obviously, and I'm curious to see who will be reviewing, who would be saying things about the game, and what their thoughts are. As far as, that I know that some of the heavier gamers will criticize how casual it is. Yeah. But I hope the people who like that style of game will enjoy it.
And the thing is, it's okay. I don't mind people being heavy gamers and stuff like that. Yeah. That's what you like. That's what you like. But the fact is, I'm more of a jack of all trades, master of none. I like a plethora, as you can see with my shelves behind us. I have things like the Kinderspiels, like Legends of Andor and Living Forest. And then I got some simple games like Planted over here. In Between Two Cities, which is a very simple game. Aqua, In the Footsteps of Darwin. Yep. So...
And I'm even more on the extreme, right? Yeah. I have some pretty heavy games. Not quite as much as I think yours. I think yours weighs a little heavier. But
I have a lot more heavier games than I think you do nowadays.
I still have quite a few, and it's not a competition, right?
Oh, yeah.
I do have a lot of heavier Euro games.
No, I said I got heavy games. That's heavy. That's
heavy. Sure. Physically heavy. But, so I just recently had a game night at my house, and most of my gamers that show up, they're normally, or they were out for various sicknesses or just not feeling well or other demands. So only one of my buddies was able to come over this last week and play games.
Okay.
And I remember he couldn't show up till much later. But when he finally did, I was like, yeah, let's play some of these games. And we played one kind of longer game. And then the rest of them was like, yeah, we don't really have the mindset for heavy games. Let's just play stupid stuff. And I was like, oh, yeah, let me show you this game. This game is so dumb. I love it. Because he brought it up. And it's not going to be on the podcast later, but it was called Monster Trap. Which is... It's such a dumb game. You're basically sliding bars across this board, trying to use this 3D monster to drop him in a pit, right?
Yeah.
And so I think he appreciated the fact that I was like, no, this game is so dumb. It's so hilariously dumb. It's not a good game, and nor am I claiming it's a good game. But it's so dumb, it's awesome. And I appreciate stuff like that. And I hope that that's what we're going to be I'm going to be receiving the same kind of reviews that we dish out and all the different ones that I've seen on all the other games. I'm just really curious to see what the consensus will be.
Yeah, I think it's gonna go fine. It's funny because in our game group we have a meme where we make fun of you about this specific game. We all enjoy the game, but it's just something that we need to do, right. And it's more along because you're not a graphic designer.
Not want to do. Need to do.
Yeah. And it's because you're not a graphic designer, so we like to make the needling on you and stuff like that. But we do enjoy the game. In fact, I've sold this game on several occasions. You have. I've helped sell this game to the shop.
Yeah, you did.
And our other buddy helped do something even cooler with that, depending on how this one actually goes.
Yeah, which hopefully, there might be a second version of it with some extra silliness. But we'll just have to see how that turns out in the long run. Either way, this game's called Hit Me. You'll see it. We'll talk about it more later on.
It is on their website on Think 12 for pre-order as well, and I'll put a link down below for everybody.
Awesome. Yeah, but we also want to talk something else that we're also thankful of, and that's some of our favorite people in board gaming. And we have some friends who live over in Austin who publish a lot of just games that we just love so much and that we're super thankful for. And one of them happens to be sneaking onto the screen right here. Sorry, audio listeners, we'll tell you what it is. This is called Ultimatch from Fireside Games, from our friends Anne-Marie and Justin DeWitt, the co-design, married couple and the owners of the company, of course.
Some of the sweetest people.
Yeah. Anything they do, just go support them. Send them money. Tell them we sent you. They'll they'll love you. We love them. They're awesome.
Yeah.
And so we decided we're going to give away a copy of their game.
Yeah, and so what I'm showing you right here is my personal copy of Ultimatch that I went and picked up for myself. We were actually showed this game at the Gamma Expo this past March and fell in love with it. We love how simple it is, and it is a simple co-op. It's not too difficult, mind you, unless you're this guy who loses in the third turn.
Man, this game destroyed me so bad. And then I got my redemption, though.
There is a brand new copy right behind us inside that cornucopia. That is the one that you are going to be trying to win. Once we get through our first segment, we're going to be giving a code word to possibly for someone to win it. It is Continental US Open right now. There may be a way we're going to open it up to possibly Canada. We don't know yet. It's a cost effective. So as of right now, it's US continent. Also, how to enter.
So there's a bunch of different ways. Again, we're going to go into more details later on. But there's many ways. Subscribe to all of our social medias. We are on twitch.tv. That's one way to do. If you follow us here, that's awesome. If you subscribe to us, that's even more awesome. If you go to our YouTube channel, there's a way to subscribe to us from there. Get notified whenever we make videos or content. That's another way to get a ticket. You can email us with the code word and also follow us on Instagram. So many different ways.
So tickets for YouTube.
Yep.
Twitch, just a follow, and then Instagram.
Yep.
But if you subscribe to us by, throwing us money and stuff like that, give a subscription, that gives you an additional 3 tickets. You don't have to. It is not required.
Nope.
But if you want extra tickets, subscribing to us gives you 3 additional tickets.
Yep. And over the course of the next 4 weeks, this week included, and then the following 3, we are going to be giving a code word. You email us with that code word with the information, and then that gives you a ticket. So a possible total of 10 tickets for this month alone Please stay tuned. You have a chance to get a free copy of Ultimatch, which is just such a dope game.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, the way our cycles work, we do 4 episodes a month. This first one will be airing on the 4th of November, and then the last one will be airing on the 25th of November. So when this goes live on the 25th, you'll have to the 30th of November to possibly get into the contest. We will be drawing it on the 2nd of December, the winner, and we'll try to get the game to them during the Christmas rush. This way they have a possibility to play it with their family.
Yeah, so please turn in on that episode as we're filming it live, or listen to the replay. So that way you can respond. We'll try to reach out to you. But if we don't have any of your direct information, maybe you're a subscriber or anything, we'll give you a shout out. We'll try to send you a message as any way we can. Mm-hmm. And because if we don't know exactly who you are directly, please make sure you tune in so that way you can hear that your name was announced, and that way we can get you a copy of that.
All right, with that being said, why don't we get into the regular scheduled program?
That's right. Top 8 debate time. Top 8 food/cooking games on Board Game Geek.
I have a bone to pick with Board Game Geek.
So do I.
Because some of these games that should be here are here. Some of these games don't fit like others. And I'm like, okay, yeah, there is food in that game, but it's not what the game is about.
Right.
Even though it's in the title.
Right.
Or the second seed as well. That one is more than the first one, but we'll get to that when we get to it.
There's we will bring that up during the debate, and again, as always, we try to take our bias out of it, and it's not whether the game is better or not, but we will take that into consideration, like as far as game immersion. If we're talking about food or cooking games, and it's like, oh yeah, you technically feed things in this game, we're not like we're gonna
look at that and talk about that.
That's probably not gonna get we're not going to get that. Hey, Creative Chaos, thanks for joining us today.
And thank you for subscribing.
That's right.
And again, as we were mentioning earlier, that is an extra 3 chances at...
Creative Chaos might be walking home with an actual copy of Ultimatch, in case you weren't here earlier. All right, so let's talk about what we've been playing lately. We'll get into today's episode here in a minute.
All right, sounds good. The first thing I want to talk about is, yes, this is the start of like our Thanksgiving cycle, our November cycle. And really, last month was all about the holiday cycle. We start with October with horror themes and stuff like that for Halloween. Go into Thanksgiving, which is a family holiday with a lot of food. Hence, last year was Uwe Rosenberg around this time. Yeah, that's right. This time around is food or cookings.
Yep, we finally played enough.
We finally got there. Just barely.
Yep, just
barely.
And
then finally, the big thing next year is going to, or next month cycle is going to be the Christmas stuff. So I really love going into this one.
There's one of those episodes I'm just super stoked about.
And with that being said, but yeah, I agree. I love our holiday themed type stuff. And so one of the games I want to talk about is a game that I wanted to get you to play. Partially because we had a whole brainstorm of compare and contrast about the Cthulhu mythos. So I wanted to get you to play this game. And man, this is a Halloween favorite for me. And this is Cthulhu Death May Die. I really do enjoy this game a lot. It is... What is it? Like I said, I finally got you to play. It is a fun themed game. It's not really like the heaviest of Euros that like Euro players are like. This is straight up Ameritrash. Yeah. Made by 2 really fantastic designers in Eric Lang and Rob Davio that we really enjoy. Well, yeah, at least for you, mainly Rob Davio, but we both enjoy like Lang stuff.
Friend of the podcast.
Yeah, I've been liking a lot of Eric Lang's newer stuff too. Like Life in Reterra was better than I was expecting. What is the other one we're hearing about? The I Love Manatees. I'm hearing good things about. So. I want to check out more of his...
I like how he's going more to his family weight level. You know, like that's fun.
And so, like, Cthulhu Death May Die, it's fun, it's dice chucking, it's shenanigans, it's role-playing, you're getting into your characters and stuff like that. That's why I really do enjoy it. And if you're a big fan of minis, this has a lot of minis on the map for you. Everything's just coming at you, fighting. You actually rolled really good dice for that game.
Not at first.
Not at first.
It ramped up.
But I was trying to think. We just recently played a game, right, where you had to do a lot of dice chucking, and the dice were not your friend. It was it was He-Man. We were playing He-Man.
And here's the funny part. Even though the dice did terribly for me, like, y'all did a whole bunch of stuff. I ended up doing everything to win the game.
Yeah.
I was the winner of the game, despite
how the dice
terrible my dice rolls were.
Yeah, so I've come to the realization, and we've talked about it before. I like heavy games. I like heavy Euros. Yeah. They're fun. But sometimes you just want to play a fun game where you're just dice chucking and it leads to a lot of laughter and we're all having a good time. And Cthulhu Death May Die just really hit that. You actually even said it was better than you expected. Mind you, when it comes to Cthulhu games, Eldritch and Arkham Horror really put bad taste in your mouth there. So you're very hesitant in these Mythos games.
Yeah, you're not wrong, but the big thing is, right, like, so our friend Gamehead Geek, his level of games, like, his and mine are probably the farthest apart out of all of our game group, right?
Yeah,
because he's really into, like, Ameritrash, kill things with dice.
Yeah.
And I'm way more about clever mechanisms. Now, he likes a lot of, like, simpler games and fun games that are really clever, and I do like a lot of, you know, games that are kill things with dice. That's totally fine. We do have a lot of overlap. But, like, every time it's his weekly pick, or a monthly pick, I'm like, all right, so what things are killing with what dice? What do these symbols do? And how many life point or action points do I have?
You're not wrong.
And then it's like, it's a really easy translation. It's not saying it's a bad thing. I've enjoyed my time.
Yeah.
And he's picking good games, too. It's just, it's kind of followed a theme. I'm like, all right, cool. So which giant big box am I not going to back on Kickstarter to kill things for dice? Let's see here.
Yeah, so it's funny because now that you mentioned it, he literally came to my game night, which I'm supposed to be out on his off week, but he came to my game night because he really wanted to play Cthulhu Death May Die. He really likes that game. He's only ever played it solo, so he wanted to play it as a floor player. You like the fact that we forced the wizard character on you because
I figured it was coming out.
Our big joke is kill the wizard first.
Yep.
So, but we also realized we played a lot of these dice chucking co-op games with you, so we gave you the character that gets one free death.
Always.
Always. And so we're like, okay, this is how it's going to be.
I don't think I even used it either.
You did once, because you died that one time and it came back. It was towards the end of the game.
Oh, yeah, with the winning move. That was the one time I died.
Yeah.
Yes.
But we made sure to give it to him, and it worked out. We really had a fun time. We got into our characters. So yeah,
Killing me actually made it easier.
It made it easier. Well, it is funny, because there was a repeat when it was Gamehead Geek's Pack when it came to the He-Man game, because you died, which allowed you to be a closer space to pull the character we needed you to pull it to. So I was like, if he dies, that's fine, because that's what we need him to be, because now he can just go back and grab it. He's the closest there.
Please kill me. It's so much easier now. Yeah.
So yeah, it is a fantastic game, but let's start with your first game.
All right, so the first game I want to talk about was... preface, I talked about my Friday night game night last week, and it was really interesting because it was only one of my buddies who came over, and he sent me a very divisive chat message like a few days prior to that, or maybe about a week ago, and he quite simply said that it was something like what you would have said. He essentially told me that he essentially told me that that somebody told him that Reiner Knizia is the most overrated designer. Because every game he's played in every Knizia has been tolerable at best. And it was like, that's a bold statement, right?
Who said this?
Like, this was a friend of mine's and who essentially repeated the same thing. And he sent it to me specifically knowing that I'm a fan of Reiner Knizia. And I'm like, I get why some people don't like his designs. He really tries to streamline. He tries to go for simple, like, one mechanism, clean it up kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And there's generally a lot of math because he's a math professor. I mean, or was a math professor. He was a game...
He's got a doctorate in math.
Yeah,
so.
like, he knows math. So, yeah, it comes easy for him, his numbers. Fine. And I was like, wow. I was like, do you think that's true? He's like, yeah. He was like, I don't play too many of them. The ones you've shown me were fine. I was like, what about Siege of Rundar? He was like, maybe a 5 or 6. I'm like, okay, that's, again, that's fair. I was like, are there any that you are interested in trying? Because I'm not trying to convince him otherwise, but I was like, let me know if you're interested. And he basically just said, yeah, how dare they, right, Creative Chaos? He basically just said, he was like, there's 3 that I want to try. Loot, because it's pirate themed, and he loves that, but that's like that's from G.A.M.E.R from like 1990s, and like I haven't seen like I see a copy of that at thrift stores from time to time.
Is that the one that's coming back?
It might be. I don't know. It's just a small little card game.
Yeah.
The second one was Raw, and the third one was Lost Cities because he hadn't played any of those, and he was like, those are pretty well regarded. And so when he came over the other night, I was like, I'm not going to teach you Raw. There's not enough players. It's just you and me.
It sucks at 2.
It's not good at 2. And I don't have loot, but I was like, I do have Lost Cities, and it's just 2 of us, so that would make sense. And he was like, okay, well, we could try it. I'm like, honestly, you're like, if that's your expectation, though, like, is how he designs games, like, you're probably not going to like Lost Cities. And now, I was purposely downplaying it.
Yeah.
But he was like, okay, like, let's play it. And after we were done, I was like, so, what'd you think? And he was like, actually, this is probably the best Knizia I've ever played. I'm like, cool. I'm glad you liked it. That wasn't the game I was going to talk about. Because right after, I followed it up. I was like, I want another simple game. Let me show you a Reiner Knizia game that nobody has heard of. That pretty much nobody in this area has ever played. I don't think you've even played it. And I think I'm the only one in New Mexico, possibly the Southwest, who even owns a copy of this game. It's called POW.
I know this game. You've told me about this game.
Yes, I've told you about this. And I've been, ever since I told you about it, I'm like, I kind of want to get this back to the table. Because it's kind of silly how it works. Mm-hmm. It's a comic book game, themed game. You have a bunch of heroes that are worth anywhere from 1 to 5 points. And you have a bunch of villains, which are worth -1 to -3. Now, the way it works is you're trying to roll dice, get sets of heroes or villains. Okay?
Yeah.
You have a die that has an orange word bubble and a blue word bubble. Heroes are blue, villains are orange. And then it also has 2 skulls for the villains and 2 shields for the heroes. You roll your dice, it's Yahtzee style, so you pick up, save whatever you want, roll 3 times.
Okay.
If you rolled at least 1 shield, then you have a choice of all these options. If you rolled at least 1 shield, you can take that place value for the hero. So if you rolled 3 shields, you could take the 3rd hero in a line.
Okay.
But exactly that number, not next to it or anything like that. So since some are worth like 5 points, you're trying to go for that many shields, right?
Yeah.
Wherever it gets to it. Or if you roll that many skulls, you can get that number placement in for villain, right? Mm-hmm. So again, you're trying to go for like -1 point. But if you ever roll a 3 of a kind of either the word bubbles of either of the colors, then you can steal the top tile from somebody else's corresponding to the color.
Yeah.
So if I roll 3 blue word bubbles, I can steal the top superhero from another player's stack. And there's one final catch to the game, is that when all the tiles are gone, any player who has more superheroes than they do villains have to discard off the top of their stack until they have the same number of superheroes per villain. Because you have to have a good rivalry, right?
Yeah.
But if you have more villains than superheroes, that's fine. So you're trying to get it as close as you can and mitigating the values, and then most points wins. It's silly. It's not serious. It's a super fun little game. And the components are fantastic. The tiles are like, I swear, like a 1/4 inch thick. Like, they are heavy duty tiles. The inside of the box lid is a dice tray. Okay. You know, it's mapped out to be like a comic book style word bubble. The art's fun, and a big old chunky dice. It's from G.A.M.E.R, and this one flew under the radar. I think I got a copy at like the very first G.A.M.E.R I went to. Okay. And they gave me a copy of it, and like, I realized in my app I had never played it in the past 5 years I've been tracking my games. I'm like, man, like, no wonder I've been wanting to get it to the table, and I liked it again. It's just a good, simple, kill things with dice. Not really. But yeah, it's a fun little Knizia, and I think he actually quite enjoyed it. He agreed. It was like, you know, it was not to be taken seriously, but I think he enjoyed it nonetheless.
Nice. And so my last game that I want to talk about is a game that you were just talking about that you wanted to show me for quite a while. I have its successor that you can find in hobby store or mass market games. It's still in my pile of shame. I have to go dig it out.
I was going to ask, were you going to take it out officially?
I'm going to take it out and move it somewhere. It's in. Yeah. I have to go dig it out.
Yeah, because functionally it's just different.
That same thing.
Yeah.
But you've been wanting to show this for a while. You had an opportunity to play a 3-player version of it while Gamehead Geek, it was his off week. You're like, I want to play this. I really been wanting to play this, and this is Spirit Island. And I gotta say, I see why you like this one so much. It is a fun co-op. with a lot of asymmetry in here. It is ridiculous when it comes to the asymmetry because everything plays differently. There is nothing that really shares kind of abilities and stuff like that. And so your whole goal in this game is to make sure you have the right characters that work really well together to make sure the island that you're on or is being controlled by your people, the natives.
Oh yeah.
No. And not being colonized by invaders and stuff like that. So I like that. So you're trying to take down the houses, you're trying to take down the buildings, the cities, the towns, the explorers, because they're decimating and they're ruining the land and stuff like that. So I liked that story of it. I love the asymmetry here. I love the fact that somehow we just randomly picked characters. We just looked at which ones we want. Nobody other than we talked about what character we went with. But we were like, oh, I'm going to try this one. And you were like, oh, I'm going to try this guy because I'm always this guy, so I want to try this guy.
Well, I think our friend G.A.M.E.R picked it random for me. I was like, spread my hands.
Yeah. He picked a random for you, and then I think he just got a random one as well. And the only one I picked because it looked really cool was the Phoenix, the Lightning Phoenix.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I want to play this one because it looks really cool. And all our characters worked really well together. It was like my energy was all about getting rid of buildings and stuff like that.
Yep.
Yours is about spreading the map and washing people away. Not washing people away, but
that was the other one. Mine was all about. Oh, geez, what was mine about?
I forget it. Like you get them stuck in the mud and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was. I caused a lot of fear. Mm-hmm. I basically controlled a lot of like what people were doing.
Yeah, and you can
pushing them in and out.
G.A.M.E.R, he was pushing people around the place to get them into situations where we can take care of them. I couldn't do with the physical people, but I could take care of the cities and the buildings and stuff like that. And so that's what I was doing. I'm like, oh, we're 2 steps away. And the big thing about it, too, is I had a really cool ability. Like, if I spent so much of these kind of tokens, all my cards become fast. So I get to take my actions before the invaders can take their actions. And another reason I liked it so much is that I could play a card that gives you guys the ability to play fast cards. So when we're discussing, I'm like, all right.
Such a fun ability.
We have to decide which one of you guys are going to go in the fast pile and which ones do you want to wait to the next round or when you can do your normal moves. Because of what my ability is, one of these guys can do 1 or 2 of their abilities as fast or one of their slow actions as fast. And so it was a good little push and pull. This is what I liked best about co-ops because this gives you that table talk. This gives you those meaningful choice. You need to make this discussions with your group as well. This way you can make smart decisions as you're playing. So Spirit Island was a fantastic game. I'm glad I play it. I'm glad I own the smaller version of it. I do want to get the big box. I know you don't recommend it at 4 players, but I'm either going to be playing in 3 or 4 player groups. There's no in between there.
Right.
So I want to get at least one more character to try it with my 4 player group. If not, I'm happy having the 3 player game combined with the big box. Because it's that good of a game. It is worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. I very much enjoyed it. I'm so super happy. I see why it's not a lot of people's favorite game of all time. I do again think at a bigger player count it does outstay its welcome, but all of the decision space it has is just so awesome.
Cool. I mean, we played a 3-player game with 1 new player and it took us 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
So I could see that, yeah.
So let me ask you a question. So we track our games, right? Mm-hmm. Whenever we play a game, we always track it on an app. Thanks to BG Stats, they're not a sponsor, but we love their app. Yeah. It's so good. Do you, let's say you play a game at a restaurant, do you track just that it's at a restaurant, or do you say, the name of the restaurant?
It depends. Most of the time, I'll say the name of the restaurant if it's something I go to all the time or something like that.
Okay. Because I found I kind of keep it general. I'll do it in a hotel or at a restaurant or... Yeah,
I do hotels. Or with my specific stats here, I was Alaskan cruise. I did the Bahamas cruise.
Oh, yeah.
I also have Denver hotel or something like that.
Right.
So I have those kind of things in there. But generally, if it's local, if I go to an IHOP and play a game there, I just have it as IHOP. Because that's more than likely I'm going to be back at that place.
Oh, I see.
But if it's we played a game at one point in Tucson when we went to a restaurant. I just put it as the Tucson trip. Or my personal favorite, when we played Geek Out in the car, and I kept the stat on that, I played Geek Out, Danny's car.
Yeah. So if we play Geek Out when you're driving, are you going to put your car?
Yeah, I guess we could.
I guess so, right? So I tend to keep mine really general. I'll do car or restaurant or whatever. So it's not that common that I add a new location to us. But I did this over this weekend. In fact, just yesterday. So I was invited to visit a friend's wedding, be in attendance, and they are hyper nerds, and I say that lovingly. Like they are awesome, and they wanted to do a board game themed wedding, and they did, and so it was chess themed. It was the wedding. They even gave out little wedding favors, and there were little laser cut wooden chessboards inside of a mint tin.
Oh, that's cool.
And that was super dope. And they even had like a Ace of Spades bottle opener. That was cool. Like, and so everything was board game themed. And they even borrowed a couple games of mine because they had tables set up for board gaming. But it was also at like this outdoor bar, right? And the weather was beautiful. It was a perfect day for board gaming. It worked great.
Yeah, we're having some really nice weather lately.
We have. It's been so good. And so, like, my wife was there, and I was there, and we're like, okay, we don't know what games we're going to play, but, and she saw one that she recognized. She was like, I'll play that one. And that was Bonanza. And so we played Bonanza at a wedding, which is, I've never thought I would say that ever. And it was super funny because a lot of the people we sat down with were people who didn't know us, right? Mm-hmm. And they were kind enough to teach my wife how to play, and myself, of course. That was really kind of them. I didn't want to interrupt. I didn't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
Because it was like, yeah, so one of the big strategies, you're going to have your hand. You can't change the order, by the way. It's like, but so it's really important that you think about that. And so we're like, yeah, that's fine. It's like, that makes sense. And my wife even added in a couple questions. We weren't being condescending about it, right? Like, she was like, okay, Like,
you're trying to make them feel good about themselves.
Right, and that's a good thing, right? Yeah. He was being more than friendly. And so it just kind of cracked me up. It was like, yeah, I taught, like, almost everybody else at this table how to play this. Right? I've never met you before, but I taught almost everybody else. But we played a 5-player game. And also, one of the funny things is because of the setting, they had a live band there, too. And, like, so the band was setting up and, like, doing some sound checks, like during the wedding. And it was kind of interesting. And then at a certain point, like, the band started playing. And, like, and they didn't, like, don't get me wrong, the wedding didn't hire a band. That's the venue, and they have a band every week.
Yeah.
And so the band happened to be playing. But they started playing their full concert halfway through our game of Bonanza. So literally half of the game was us playing, like, and we're like basically trying to make up our own hand signals. It's like, will you trade a stink bean for, chili bean? Yeah. And it's like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And then it's like, toss the card. And we probably made some bad trades because we were like, we're not going to get too much effort in. We're not going to offer counter arguments. Like, how do you say that? It's like, yeah, but throw in a stink bean while you're at it, right? No, that's just not going to happen realistically. But one of the games that they did play there, which worked really well, that I showed them before, was Pit. And that only does need hand signals. Like, it's all real time anyway. It's like, two, yeah, let's trade, right?
Yeah.
I mean, unless they had Happy Salmon, there's no other better options, right?
And, in fact, one of the Happy Salmon's variant is you have to play it quietly.
The silent version, yeah. So it's like, there wasn't too many games that could have done well in that setting. But Bonanza was super fun. I got 3rd place, I think, out of playing it. It was just good old riot time. I like it a lot. But yeah, oh my goodness, what a silly idea, and I loved everything. Actually, they had a giant plastic knight too, and that was their wedding book that they were having people sign it.
Nice.
Like, what a cool idea. So that was my game that I've been playing recently, Bonanza. Alright, so we're going to get into today's episode, but before we do, remember, at the beginning of this episode, we talked about a contest. Again, you have a chance to win a copy of Ultimatch here. Let me go over the quick ways on how you're going to enter. Not how you can enter, how you're going to enter. Because we want to give away a copy of this to one of our listeners, and you have far more chances if you're listening and subscribed and following us in all the ways to do it. Mm-hmm. First off, there's Instagram. We have Instagram.com/everydayboardgames. That's one way to follow us. If you follow us or subscribe to us or whatever the term is on there, you automatically have one ticket. Secondly, there's YouTube. YouTube.com/everydayboardgames. If you subscribe to us on YouTube, and you get an automatic ticket on there as well. There's twitch.tv/everydayboardgames where we stream this live. You can hear the results live, and you can hear the code words live when we say them, so you know and you don't have to worry about waiting later on. That's another way to do it. if you subscribe to us, have a subscription on Twitch, it's really inexpensive to do that. I think it's like $5 or something. It's really cheap.
Or Prime for free.
Or Prime for free, yeah. If you have Prime, you get a free subscription. You could do that. Real simple. That gives you 3 more tickets because that helps us make this podcast possible. This is one of the things that we pay for overhead. Specifically, Daniel pays for overhead and, covers us. So we really want to keep our thing going. We've been doing it for so many years. So that gives us 3 tickets. And then finally, over the next 4 weeks, this week included, we're giving you a code word. You email it to everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com. Subject line, put contest, and in the body, you're going to put a way to contact you and our code word. Daniel, did I cover it all?
You covered it all.
What's our code word?
Our code word today, in celebration of Thanksgiving and the American holiday, and I think the Canadians celebrated it last month, but our code word is gobble.
Gobble. Gobble. Gobble. We're not going to double check your spelling. Again, the contiguous United States, please enter. Even if you're not inside the United States, you can enter. We just can't promise anything yet.
Yeah.
We'll do our best. We'll just have to figure it out.
But continental USA, unless we say otherwise.
Okay. All right. With that being said, let's get into today's episode. We have some honorable mentions, but let's break down how we actually do this, right?
Our list.
We
haven't even do our top 8.
We haven't even talked about what our top 8 debate is. Food games. Yeah, so the way we pick this list is we take the top 8 highest ranked games on BoardGameGeek.com that Daniel and I have both played. That's super important.
Yeah, especially from a certain category or thing that you can find on Board Game Geek. We always will put a link in our descriptions down below for you guys can go check this out as well. And the reason why we do the top 8 games that we've played, this way we can have a sound argument because we don't get to pick the game we're talking about. He's going to flip the coin of doom, and I'm going to pull from the cup of doom, and that's going to determine how we're going to start our debates and stuff like that, which game we're getting and who starts the game around. With that being said, our 8 games is our number 1 seed is A Feast for Odin.
Versus our number 8 seed, Abandon All Artichokes.
Our number 2 seed, Agricola.
Versus our number 7 seed, Sushi Roll.
Versus our number 3 seed, Sushi Go Party.
Versus our number 3 seed. Our number 3 seed versus our number 6 seed, Scoville.
And then finally, our number 4 seed, Point Salad.
Versus our number 5 seed, Tokaido?
There is food in Tokaido.
Sure. And we will talk about that in more detail when we get to that argument. But yes, there is food in that game. There's food in many games.
Actually, it makes more sense than some of these other games.
Sure.
Because it's a whole there's a whole win possibility with that one.
That's right. So let's talk about our honorable mentions. We each picked 3 of them. Ones that either we hadn't played or was on the list, or just ones that we feel should be on there. And I have one that wasn't even on the list at all, which it darn well should be.
Okay. So do you want to start with our honorable mentions, or do you want to start
with our honorable mentions? Here we go. So I'll give us a start. The first one I wanted to talk about is a game. We're going to be arguing 2 of his games today during our list, and apparently he has a thing for food. But he made a game that was through WizKids called Yummy World Party at Picnic Palace.
Oh, God. I was not expecting this one on the list.
Yummy World Party at Picnic Palace. You're getting the best combinations of foods for a picnic for points.
Living food at that.
Can you feel the alliteration up in here? Yeah, living food. Like, you think Sushi Go has cute sushi? Look at Yummy World. They ramped it. They ramped it so hard. That is the most over-the-top, cutesy, kawaii, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, by the way, he's talking about Phil Walker Harding.
Phil Walker Harding, yeah, the designer, yeah.
Yeah, because you mentioned the designer, and I was like, oh, he's going Uwe.
No, I'm going straight up Phil Walker Harding. Yummy World Picnic Palace. That was one that flew so under the radar, and then you and me found it for like $5 each, so we're like, yeah, we'll get a copy because it's Phil Walker Harding.
Yeah.
And we played it, and we're like, huh. Like, this game's way good. Like, why is...
It is a good game. I found out that there's someone... It's kind of like a spatial... Not almost spatial awareness, but there is a trick to how you need to play it. Is like, do I draw this or do this? And I know some people that, like, they just can't grok.
No.
Why are you taking that now? And stuff like... It's kind of like you when we play Nightmare Production. Why are you guys betting so high?
Yeah, exactly. It makes no sense, but yeah, I had a great time with it. I want to get it to the table again. It was really fun.
I do enjoy it. It's in my little photo cases over here.
Yep.
Because it's a small enough card game that you can keep. And I like these photo cases because they travel really well.
They do.
And it's one of those games that I can take traveling. So
absolutely,
it's a fantastic pick there.
Thank you.
The first pick I am going to talk about is a game you haven't played yet. You had a chance to play it. And what makes
How dare you pick something I haven't played?
And what makes it even funnier, it's a 2-player only game and you haven't played it. This is a Scott Alms game, Beer and Bread.
But that's the thing. Why would you pick this? You hate 2-player games.
I actually adore this game. I found this one to be a fun game. And I don't hate 2-player games. I don't have 2-player games in this house, as I mentioned before, because they don't get played.
Yeah.
There's no point in I either have a game group that's 3 or more or 4 or more. Why am I going to have 2-player games?
How do you say something without saying it, Daniel? Come on now. We all know. It's okay.
No, it's just because my wife doesn't want to play games with me anymore. I used to have a bunch of 2-player games.
Yeah.
I've sold them all throughout the years. I only have 2, I think, nowadays. I know for sure I have the Star Wars, the deck building game. I'm getting ready to sell Santorini, so
yep.
And the only other one I have is
I think the only reason you kept Santorini is because it's technically like 2 to 4 players.
Yeah.
Technically,
yeah,
it's really a 2-player game, and when you're like, you know what, it really is a 2-player game. It's out. I'm
yeah.
out.
The only other one I have is Star Wars Rebellion, which can go 4 players. I don't recommend it. It is a 2-player game, and this thing's massive.
So when are you getting rid of that one?
Nah, I'm not getting rid of that one. That game's hard to get rid of out of my servers because it does really get that Star Wars niche.
Oh, sure.
So Beer and Bread, I was trying to, before I got sidebarred by this guy over here,
Sorry.
is a fantastic multi-use 2-player game about resource management. And what I really liked about this game is that you have to make sure you're leveling your beer side as well as your bread side, because you're going to take the lower score, and that's going to end up winning the game for you. So, and what happened was when I played it, I went really heavy on bread, and I did fine on the beer side, but my friend was able to take it by 2 points because he tied me on the beer side, or on the beer side. My bread was my highest, but his bread beat my lowest beer by 2 points. He just did enough.
I have no idea what that meant.
So there's 2 scoring. You're gonna score beer or bread.
Okay.
Whatever the lowest one is going to be your final score. So my lowest score was beer. His lowest score was bread. We were tied on the beer side, which was his highest score, or my lowest score, which was his highest score. So we were both tied there. But because his low score was bread, which was my best score, it beat my beer side by 2. He played more evenly on both sides of the game.
Gotcha.
And so I like the fact because you can use cards for gather resources. You can use cards to play games. And then the resources themselves, the way they see it as you're going through, I think it's like 8 rounds or so, they're going to be depleted depending on which round you're in. If it's a 3rd round, there's going to be less stuff for you to get because it's considered like the night phase or the winter phase or whatever it is. And so there's less resources for you to accrue. So there is a limited resource pool that you're pulling for. So you're trying to play this card right to get those kind of resources. But this card also can play and give you a special power, or this card could also play and give you more bonuses on scoring a certain section of the 2 scoring piles. And so it's very interesting. I love multi-use card games. I love the little push and pull. It's like, I'm going really good on bread. I'm going to get my points here, but I need to start concentrating on the beer side, or else I'm going to be hurting because I'm going to score my lowest score. Yeah. So if both my stuff is like 14 points, then I'm pretty good because I'm pretty even there. So, but I really do enjoy that aspect of it, that little push and pull, the resource management, the multi-use cards. Beer and Bread by, it's Scott Alms. I can't remember the company, though, for the life of me right now. Lookout, yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, the second one I wanted to talk about is from friend of the podcast, Daniel Salas. And this is Space Battle Lunchtime.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I played this game for the first time just because we knew we were having him on the podcast. I didn't know anything about it, but I knew that it was like technically based off of a comic series. I knew he designed it, so I was like, okay, we had a copy at the shop. I'll buy it, we'll play it real quick. And I was very charmed by it. This game has flown under the radar for a lot of people, but what it does is you're trying to do like contract fulfillment. You're trying to get certain ingredients, and you're trying to put them in to basically meet the needs of the judges, the alien judges. So I don't know much about the source material, but I do understand that one of the funniest things is that you're trying to make recipes without understanding what the ingredients are. You just kind of know generally like what they kind of taste-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it's like, oh, well, I'm doing a bunch of sour foods and then maybe some sweet foods or whatever. Like, and so it's really kind of bizarre what you're making. You're making some weird dishes that don't actually exist in the real world here. So it's kind of silly. But at the same time, the trading mechanism is really smart. Like, if you trade in a value 2 card, then you can trade it for 2 cards. Like, that's how it works. It's like from 1 to 3 or something. And so you're trading it in for different things, or getting a single card or trading it for another one, and you're trying to have just the right values on your cards to trade in for that. I'm not doing it justice by explaining it, but this has been clearanced out so many times. Renegade sells it every once in a while for like $5 on their sales.
I have a copy of it over there.
Go get it. It's so cool. I like it a lot. It works really well. Space Battle Lunchtime. It's made me actually want to like read the comics or whatever the source material is.
Nice. Speaking of Daniel Solis, little information news here for people who are interested about game design or graphic design for games. He has a published book that you can find about graphic designs in games. So if you're
he's a graphic designer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean that's what his main job in the board game industry, but he does do game design as well on top of it.
So yeah, if you're interested, go check it out. Again, he is a friend of the podcast. Was a special guest, I believe, this year or last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, going on to my next
I think earlier this year.
Honorable mention here. I'm going to switch it up real quick because I have it set as my number 3 to talk about. But because the way you described the last one, this one fits in that category too.
Well, mine was the number 3.
Oh, okay.
I jump around wherever it makes sense. Yeah.
Well, when you went there, I'm like, okay, this works with that. Because this is a lot like the Space Battle Lunchtime that you were talking about. But this is more of the fact that you are running a restaurant against other people, and you're trying to bid on certain ingredients. You're trying to finish things, and you're trying to become famous, Instagram famous. I think it's what the
or whatever the legally distinct
the theme is on there. Yeah. You're trying to be a social media famous restaurant or taco truck or whatever it was to be. And this is rival restaurants from can't think of their name right now, and I don't remember. They did Illuminati Word or something like that. Is it Gap Closer? I think it's Gap Closer Games. That's what it is. But yes, it is rival restaurants. Fantastic game. What I like about it is that you're setting yourself up for getting everything you need, and then when you go into the next round, it's all about that wheeling and dealing and stuff like that. There is a time thing because you're trying to gather the resources that you need, but someone needs to get over there, so they're trying to shout at you to, help them out. Hey, like, I can give you this if you buy me that over there. Right. And so you're trying to spend money and trying to help them, sort of, but you have to make sure it's your best kind of deal. And then when you're done, you're trying to finish your meals. Once you do, you get so many points off of it. It's, I believe, the first person to 20 famous points wins. It is a fantastic game. It is a fun game. I remember playing this back in 2019 at Dice Tower West for the first time. It was about ready to go onto Kickstarter. I had a great time with it. My wife, not so much. She doesn't like those real-time games where it gets real stressful and people start shouting. Our friend Gamehead Geek actually backed it on Kickstarter. That's how my wife was able to play it. And when he got his copy and we played it then, and she's like, it's fine. I like what it does. But that wheeling and dealing, stuff like that, she barely plays Bonanza just because of all the screaming and shouting, and that's why she refuses to play Pit.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, that would be terrible for her.
Plus the bell.
Which Pit should be on this list, too. I mean, it's about stock market, but it's about trading commodities, like crops and commodities,
But yeah, so Rival Restaurants is my number 2.
And my number 3, the last one I want to talk about, is a game that I was surprised to not see on this list. It's pretty new, and it doesn't make any sense, because I've seen other donut-themed games on this list.
Go Nuts for Donuts?
Donut Shop. Yeah, Go Nuts for Donuts was on it, and there was another Donuts one. But Donut Shop is not on this list for some reason. You are baking donuts in this, and in fact, I think it's 25th Century that published this game.
Yep.
The components on this are phenomenal, and they look like they make you want to eat donuts as you're playing it. It's so fun how it works. Basically, you're laying down a 2x2 grid of donuts. You're laying them down somewhere on the communal map. Yep. That lays out the trays of where the donuts are. And then at a certain point, you can trade in order cards in order to cover up boxes of donuts that are on the communal board. That's how you're going to get points. First, like when you put down a tile, you get a point for your largest grouping. It's like 5 cents for every donut that is grouped of one type. And then, if you can sell it, then you cover up part of the board with a box of donuts. It could be anywhere from 4 to 6, 9, 8, or 12 donuts, so a dozen. And all of the components, first off, the donuts look tasty, legitimately. There's like 5 different kinds, and there's special versions of those kinds.
I don't eat donuts, so.
I know. But then, like, you have the cards that have them, and, like, half of them have bites taken out of them. It's kind of funny. But then, when you cover them up, like, the actual donut boxes look like they would be actually manufactured donut boxes. And normally I don't like where we're all working together, but then I'm covering up stuff that other people have done. But the way it works just works really cleanly, you know. And it's one of the few exceptions to that rule where I'm like, wow, that's a really smart system. Because you have two different ways to score. And laying down patterns is one way, or completing sets is another way. It's from Jeffrey D. Allers, and this is already my favorite game that he's designed. So,
Donut Shop, huh?
Donut Shop.
I still need to play this one.
It's so good. And the component, like, the card tray, like, the actual one where you pull the tiles from, that looks like a donut rack, like a baker's rack. And then the card tray itself looks like a either a menu or like a napkin holder, a dispenser. Nice. Like, it's so good. And, Creative Chaos likes both kinds of donuts.
Yeah, it's just for my health purposes. I don't eat donuts anymore. I used to enjoy... I'm an apple fritter guy. That was my donut of choice, or fried dough, whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah.
But my last game I'm going to talk about has no cooking involved in it, because it's all about sushi. And this one is a reprint. The one I put down is the reprint, because this is the version I played. It originally was known as Wasabi. There was an issue with the copyright, and so they changed the name to Maki Masters. By the way, the kids' table board game version of this game, the component quality is through the roof. It's fantastic. It was a crowdfunded game, so of course they're going to do really well. But go ahead. It is a really it's kind of tucked behind the bar, so.
No worries.
It is a fantastic quality. It is all about trying to set up your mill, per se, and trying to get them in a row or a column. This way you can turn in your mill, and you're going to score as many points as you can get out of there. The component quality is great for this one. I love the fact that the player boards are these little...
Go for it.
Kind of mats that you'll see here, like you see in sushi shops and stuff like that. You'll have special power cards that will help you to mitigate things. Like one of my favorite powers that I was using during the game is where instead of doing a straight line, I can go orthogonally adjacent. So instead of going up or down, left or right in a column or a row, I could do a space over, and then you have little wasabi cups in there that for using wasabi. You get the little bowls that you can keep your wasabi in. Those are going to be points for you at the end of the game too, or you can use them for special abilities and stuff like that. So it is a fantastic quality production from Kids Table Board Games, as well as a very fun game. So my number 3 is Maki Masters.
I was very curious about this because I used to own the original one before the reprint, and I remember like that already had decent components, and it had like the little dishes and stuff, but they weren't ceramic. They were like plastic or something.
Yeah, well, some of those are ceramic, but it's mainly plastic stuff.
I did.
Or wood.
I did find like some fairly inexpensive like chopsticks, and I did put it in the game with it. I thought that was a fun little nuance. You don't need to, but it's like add that little thing. It's like, yeah, take a victory point, and then you like see who actually knows how to use them. Oh, there we go. It's super unnecessary, but yeah, very fun. Cool.
Yeah, no, I really do enjoy it. So let's go to the people's honorable mentions real quick.
Yeah, so let's see what people added on.
We're gonna skip this one because that.
No, let's talk about it because it's ridiculous. Corey added Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition, and I don't know why.
I don't get it either. That was last month when we're talking about spooky games.
Yep.
So, Kalina added Wild Gardens, and she'll describe it here in the comment section real quick. I have not heard this one, but it sounds interesting from what she put on there. So.
Oh, interesting. G.A.M.E.R added Food Chain Magnate.
I avoid this one like the plague, in all honesty. I know I shouldn't. I tried to say I'm going to play other games at least once. I may try the new Lucky Duck version because it's nicer looking, but Splotter games just scare me in general. Yeah. Mike added Kitchen Rush.
Chris added Charcuterie, which is a brand new game.
And Glenn also added Rival Restaurants, and I agree with him on that one.
Yeah. Let's see what the comments say.
Kalena was adding that her new favorite is Wild Gardens, all about forging wild ingredients and cooking recipes. That sounds really fun. And the art, a game shouldn't make me want to look up real recipes for food, but this looks so good. And she posted some pictures of the cards on there, and wow, those do look really good.
That's some great art. And Masmo, one of our longtime viewers, joined in. Yeah, Bus is really good for a Splotter game. Well, come on down and let's play it. You have our invitation. All right. Brad added, my friend has Viva Java. Hasn't played it yet, but I think it needs at least 5. When I laid it out and read the rules, it looks to be fun. Plus, coffee.
Coffee is delicious. I just had my coffee right now.
You're there tomorrow. You got it.
And Glenn said Rival Restaurant is a hit with his group, and all different dishes makes us hungry, which it does. It is... and then Carl added that he's been wanting to try this one for a while. He's heard good things. And they just having a talk about the recent Kickstarter for Rival Restaurants expansion.
Cool. And Andrew posted Feast for Odin is the best midweight Euro ever made. Hands down, Uwe's best for sure. That may be up for debate later.
My thing about it, too, is... Juve's best. It's his magnus opus. Let's not lie that. That is his. It's his thing. I still say one of my favorite Uwe games is Bonanza, and it's still probably in my top tier games of his.
Yeah. I mean, but it's also a very different game. It's tricky to compare, right?
Yeah.
Maybe when we do another Uwe debate, we'll have that discussion again. But
I'm trying to remember what actually won the Uwe debate, so go ahead and talk about what we're doing here.
I don't remember either. So let's talk about how we do this. Our top 8 debates are quite simple. We have these 8 games we were listing about at the beginning of the episode. We will be breaking them down, 1 versus the 8 seed, 2 versus 7, so on and so forth. Top to bottom, we flip the coin of doom to see who debates first. Daniel pulls from the cup of doom to see which one we argue for. We argue for our side, then we pick which one moves on. By the end of the quarter, semi, and finals, we will have the best food/cooking game according to our completely unobjective.
And how do we do our unobjective vote?
All right, so our unsubjective.
Unsubjective, there you go.
Our objective votes. Yeah, right. Thank you for following in my lead of incorrectness. So we have our gamer criteria, which is pretty awesome. First, we have game immersion. That is the game fun to lose, player interactions, and memorable moments.
As well as art and production, the art, the pieces and components, and the graphic design.
I'm going to pause just for a second. One of our listeners brought up a really interesting point. If a game does not have art, how do we count for the art part of it? And I told him quite simply, it just gets an automatic pass. Because if it's not intended to have art, that's not part of it.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to clarify that in case I knew there was confusion later. I don't think it'll matter here. Meaningful choice, impact on other players, depth of strategy, tactics, or skills, and how much arbitrary choices or analysis paralysis from too many choices impact your gameplay.
Next up is the E, ease of play, simplicity and familiarity of the mechanism. The likelihood of getting it to the table, whether it's through the mechanism or the theme. Is it easy to learn, understand, and or teach the game?
And finally, R, replay value. We have the length of time for scaling well per player, minimum numbers of plays for the full experience, and the expandability, whether that's existing expansions, confirmed expansions, or up to 1 future expansion.
And then finally, if we cannot come up with a consensus and these games are tied, This is why it's very important that you join the Board Game Revolution group, because we always put a poll every time we're going to do a top 8 debate. This way you guys can vote, because your vote moves the game on.
Very good. Are we ready, Daniel?
I am ready.
We're going to start with our number 1 seed, Feast for Odin, versus our number 8 seed, Abandon All Artichokes. That'll be me starting us off.
Abandon All Artichokes.
Sounds good. And this game has every right to be on this list. So this is a deck deconstruction game, because let's be real. If you're like a little kid and you're offered vegetables, artichokes are one of the least ones you would ever want. Maybe next to like okra. That's why they had to deep fry it, just for it to be tolerable. Let's be real. Yeah, they're green slime balls. That we know what okra is. What I'm saying though, you give me that look like I'm gonna beat you already. The lightsaber's over there. I know the lightsaber's there. No, but what it really is, like, kids don't really want vegetables, and artichokes is one of the highly contentious vegetables. So the idea of the game is simply use other vegetables to get rid of your artichokes, and the first person to draw a hand of 5 cards that is completely devoid of the 5 artichokes will win the game. It's such a silly idea. I forget the designer's name, but she did a very silly game. This is from G.A.M.E.R, so it's good components. The inside of it has like the actual tray has a little let me know. Has like, it's like a recycled cardboard look, so it looks like an egg carton. And every single card has its own different ability, whether it's rhubarb or beets or whatever. Broccoli, yeah.
Red onion.
Yeah, red onion, yep. And they all have their own little abilities, and all of them are different ways to either mitigate your hand, or to try to get rid of artichokes, or to give you abilities to make it either harder for others, or easier for you to get rid of potentially other future artichokes. And there's always that moment where you draw your hand at the end of each round, where everyone like pauses for a minute, you draw the cards. It's your turn. It's like, you drew an artichoke. We know.
Yeah, I like that part. That's like my favorite part of the entire game.
Every round, nope, cool. It's so funny. Like because like as the game progresses, you know people are getting close. Like, you only have like 9 cards in that deck. How many? You've gotten rid of so many artichokes. It's like, all right, here we go. and they just, that awkward pause. Everyone's like, yeah, it's your turn. And it cracks me up every time.
I do like that part.
It's so much game immersion, because let's be real, nobody, like, everyone's trying to get rid of their artichokes, trying to get out of there. And you start with a deck of nothing but artichokes, so it's a deck deconstruction, deck building kind of game. It works really simple. It doesn't require any excess currency. It's super easy for people to play. Mm-hmm. It's cute. The art and production is great.
G.A.M.E.R really knocked it out of the park with this.
I can't think of a bad thing about this. It scales well.
I can think of a bad thing about this.
It's a quick game. What? Ease of play? There's meaningful choice.
No. I know what the bad thing about this game is.
Replay value?
No, it comes in a freaking tin.
Oh, sure. Yeah. If that's the worst thing about it.
That's the only bad thing I can say about this game.
Throw it in a deck box. It comes in a tin. Throw it in a deck box.
Yeah,
right?
having my version's in the photo box right over there.
I mean, Abandon All Artichokes. I mean, just because, I'm not saying it's going to be an upset, but I really am having a hard time saying, like, all of the bad things I have against Feast for Odin, I don't have in Abandon All Artichokes, and I adore that little game.
I really do have to argue for Feast for Odin, but I'm going to have a hard time on this one because of the fact that I do enjoy this game. It's a bit rough, and I don't know how it really fits with the food and the theme. It says a Feast for Odin. You have a little bit of food in this game, and it's more of a cross between, what is that game called? Patchworks, like multiplayer Patchwork, and Agricola and Caverna, and all these pattern building with a little bit of raiding aspect in there as well. So it's a hodgepodge of all these mechanisms, and food is in there. This is more of a Viking game than anything else. It really doesn't really, like, if we had, what is that agriculture, Reykholt? That is more along this lines, I think, fits better for this specific category.
Right, because you're directly serving tables.
Yeah, and so I say Abandoned Artichokes is the more fun game. I think Feast for Odin is the better game in a sense. It's more of that thinky game where you're going to feel so. Like I know for a fact it's going to win meaningful choice. It is never at all going to touch ease of play. No. That game is a chore. The replay value too. I think this goes to Feast for Odin because it does have the expansions. It does have the minimum number play for expandability or for a place because it's always going to change out of the base box.
Definitely loses the scaling.
Yeah, the scaling, yes.
It takes too long.
Yeah. And so that's my thing is like, as much as I like this game, and I think it's a fantastic game, it's got some really good art and production. The art is okay at best. I'm fine with it. The production value is good. My issue with the pieces and components on this one is those tiles are really small. Mm-hmm. And so if you have someone that has like issues with their eyesight or have, because I'm getting older, I have a buddy who has issues and now he has to start use reading glasses, and he's trying to figure out what that little thing is supposed to be on his board. Yeah, I think Abandoned Artichokes gets the upset here because I find it more fun to lose Abandoned Artichokes. I find the art and production a lot better. The art is much better in The Thing. In Abandoned Artichokes, the graphic design is much easier to read. The text is a decent enough size for people who do have bad eyesight can read it. Both have really good, meaningful choice, but when it goes into ease of play and replay value, I think that's Abandoned Artichokes. Feast for Odin is a fantastic game. For this criteria, I just don't think it fits.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest things. Like you're building a feast, right?
Yeah.
And I get like the feeding part of it, but it's not. It doesn't embody the food thing. It embodies Vikings, and it feels like the polyominoes that were the feast part of it, like that's kind of shoehorned in.
Yeah.
Yeah, cornucopiaed in, if you will. Yeah, I just. Yeah, so we give it to Abandoned Artichokes?
Yeah, I give it... I went through the criteria, and that's how I'm feeling. I don't know how you're feeling on the criteria.
You know, like, the thing is, I think it's like a 50-50 with art and production. I think that's the only one that would be complimentary, because the cards are a little thin, even though, like, it's game right, so it's fine.
Yeah.
They will get beaten up a little bit, but, like, one bad thing... and in a tin, right?
Yeah.
But two bad things versus like tiny tiles and just convolution, which doesn't really. I'm not saying the art in Feast for Odin is bad. I think it's pretty good, but I'm fine calling it for Abandoned Artichokes.
All right.
So send your hate mail to Daniel at everydayboardgames.com. All right, our round number 2 is Agricola versus Sushi Roll. Never thought I'd compare these two, but I'm excited.
One of these things is not like the other.
Yeah, exactly. Agricola and Sushi Roll. Here we go. You'll be starting us off today.
And I get Agricola.
All right.
Which is good because I kind of I remember both of these.
I'm arguing the easy stuff right here.
The thing about it, I remember Agricola and I remember Sushi Roll about the same. It's been a while since I played both of these games. Both of them are fantastic. Agricola feels more food themed because you are building a farm. This is a farming game. Yeah. You're building a farm. You have a worker placement game. You're trying to build your resources, your sheep and stuff like that, your pins and
everything's growing.
Everything, yeah. This feels more than like a Feast for Odin. Like I said, Feast for Odin really feels like a Viking game. That's what I get out of that theme.
Sure.
This one, hands down, has some of the most meaningful choices on here. And the thing about it, when we go into the expandability and the replayability type thing and replay value, just out of the box alone, how things set up on that board, every game's going to be different based on the way the new boards come onto the board because they're randomized. I like that aspect of it. The game immersion itself, both games are fantastic to lose. One I like a little bit more, but that's my personal choice. But there is memorable moments in Agricola. There is a lot of player interaction. Not as much as you would think in Sushi Roll, because Sushi Roll is all about trying to make sure as it's going through that conveyor belt, you get what you specifically need of those dice. So it's there. The meaningful choice, though, in Agricola is hands down one of the best I've ever seen out of these games. I would play Agricola over Feast for Odin, hands down. I think I like Caverna a little bit more. And the reason, I don't know if Caverna was on the list there, but every time Caverna gets bumped off the list, it's just Agricola is rated higher.
Yeah.
Since they're very, very similar, whoever has the highest rank gets in. That's one of our rules that we have is Agricola, Caverna, when we're talking about the West Kingdom games too, or the Raiders of North Sea and stuff like that. If they're very similar, they're not going to be going up against each other. But ease of play, again, this is not an easy game to learn or teach. So there's that for you. But I honestly think Agricola should move on because it has a lot of the stuff that you need, more so than Feast for Odin. You have the farming, you have the meaningful choice, you have the replay value out of the box, not to mention it's got 2 or 3 expansions. And the ARM production is actually pretty good on this one, other than my biggest gripe is that your workers are discs.
Yep. Yep. All right, Sushi Roll. Let's argue for that. Phil Walker Harding, first off, so you know it's going to be an elegant, simple design.
Yep.
This is essentially the dice version of his classic game Sushi Go, which we will be talking about the sequel here in a bit. Sushi Roll is an interesting drafting game. You have a set of dice that are pulled at random. Depending on the player count, you get a certain number, and you roll them onto your conveyor belt, and you take 1 die on your turn. Once everyone's taken 1 die, the whole conveyor belt is passed clockwise, and you give it a roll. And so each time that those dice come up, you are able to roll them, and each dice has a color, and it corresponds to what kind of sushi it does. Like there's some that have sashimi and tempura and stuff, things that you need sets of.
Yeah.
So that's a commonality of it. There is also ones that have like desserts, either 1, 2, or 3 pudding on it. There's ones that are like special abilities, whether it's wasabi, chopsticks, or menus. There's other ones like nigiri that are worth either 1, 2, or 3 points. And yeah, there's also, if you're familiar with Sushi Go, you understand how most of these dice correspond with the cards. But what changes about this one, first off, like each of the dice has the ability to change throughout it. So like the blue die is the set collection one. So it could be sashimi, it could be tempura, and they score based on how many you have of certain ones. And like sashimi is a good example. You need like 3 of them to score like 10 points. It's a big difference between the two. I like this better than Sushi Go, because Sushi Go, it's stagnant. Like you, if you can remember what everyone's getting, it's okay, right? But the fact is, like, if I see that
you hate Sushi Go because it's pick and pass.
Well, that's one of the things I argue against it, and this technically is too, right? But the thing that steps it up above regular standard Sushi Go is that when I look over, if you're the player on my right, and I see a die is coming my way, I could steal one of those. But let's say you had a blue die that I'm like, I don't really want tempura right now, so maybe I'll wait for sashimi. And by the time it gets to my side anyway, I'm going to re-roll it, so I have a chance to get a better option of the same dice that I have. So you have extra choices knowing that things are going to change based on dice rolls, potentially. And you can also spend menus to re-roll the stuff, too, on top of it. I like it so much better. There's something about it that just works so much better. The components are brilliant. Now, again, like when we compare it to like Sushi Go Party later, that's gonna be a whole different story. But Sushi Go or Sushi Roll has great components. It's game right, as we said before. It's Phil Walker Harding, so it's easy to play. It's fun thematic because I mean, yes, sushi restaurants are known for conveyor belts. They're known for passing the dishes around. It has that restaurant feel, and the food scores thematically. Like you want tempura in pairs. You don't get a single tempura ever. Like that's not what tempura is. You do it in pairs. So like eel for like the cards, right? Like I mean that's the card game version. But like there's all these different things that are nods to like how the food works. I think it's immersive actually. Like it's surprisingly immersive for being a sushi themed dice game.
But that's not how we debate game immersion.
No, I know. I agree. I'm just saying, as far as like actual like how well it takes the theme, I feel it's one of the most thematic. So let's go to the breakdown real quick.
Okay.
Art and production. What would you say wins this?
Oh, this is Sushi Roll.
Okay,
the
cool.
art and production.
I was wondering because I know
the dice and stuff like that.
The dice are really high quality. Okay, Sushi Roll. Meaningful choice. Would you say Agricola?
Agricola.
Okay. Game immersion.
Agricola. Is the game fun to lose? Both of them are fine. I just find Sushi Roll... I'd rather play any of the other sushi games rather than Sushi Roll.
That's fair.
Because a lot of it is luck-based.
You haven't played Spin Some for Dim Sum, have you?
No, I have not.
Okay. Right.
The player interaction, I remember our games of Agricola.
Yeah.
And a lot of talking, a lot of yelling at each other.
There's not very memorable moments in Sushi Roll. I'll give you that. Easy play is Sushi Roll. So, really it comes down to replay value, right? And...
I think length of time and scaling well, that goes to Sushi Roll. It plays the best between 2 and 4, I think is what it is. Yep. But the minimum number plays for the full experience.
Yeah, there's so many decks of cards that you're going to be using cards for. Like, just your different players, the different, like, all the, like, abilities, the buildings that you're... Yeah.
Plus the expandability, there's 2 or 3 expansions?
A lot.
Yeah.
It does any more than one beats Sushi Roll. All right, so that means that Agricola moves on. All right. Beating out Phil Walker Harding. Speaking of Phil Walker Harding, that's round 3, Sushi Go Party. You might have heard some of our arguments before. Versus Scoville. And you'll be starting us off, Daniel.
All right. I'll be starting off this one
with...
Scoville.
Yep, you're getting the heavy games today.
I'm getting the heavy games today. I want to argue the simple games here.
Oh, I love arguing the simple ones.
When it comes to Scoville, this is a fantastic game. So much so, when we played this game, I went and pre-ordered the new version of it.
Sure.
This is coming from Trick or Treat Studios, the new version. The original version from Tasty Minstrel Games. It is a very difficult game to find right now under the TMGs. Though, if you were trying to find it, it was very expensive. Because they announced the new version of it, it has dropped really, really down there, the price-wise. So if you want to find the Tasty Minstrel version of it, I recommend waiting for the Trick or Treat. It's going to look a lot better, and it's going to be more colorblind friendly. Yeah. But we are going to be fair and argue the version that is out right now, even though you can go look at the new version of Scoville. So if this sounds interesting to you, check that one out.
So we're arguing Tasty Minstrel.
Tasty Minstrel's version, because that is the one that you can currently find in the public, and those are the one that is on the list right now.
Gotcha.
So when it comes to the Scoville itself, it is a fantastic game. It kind of fits this theme. It's not as immersive as some of these other games because you are growing the chili peppers and you're trying to use them for recipes, maybe for like a chili stew or a green chili or something like that. And the thing about it for us, it's a little bit of a kind of an ode to our area. We're very known. We live in a state where our state question is red or green, and it's basically because of chilies.
That is referring that's not basically because. That is entirely
because of chilies. Our license plates have chilies on them.
If you've heard the term Hatch green chili. Or Hatch
that's 40
chili,
minutes up the road from us.
Yeah, that's no, it's only 30.
Yes.
If you go to the farm, I guess it's about 40. Sure. But no, it's like that's our neighbor, right?
Yeah,
we are from that area. We know spicy food.
Red, green, or Christmas. Yeah. I prefer Christmas myself.
Exactly. Nobody has ever if you've heard red or green, good job. But if you understand the Christmas part of it, you know. If you know, you know.
And so the big thing about it here is I love everything about what Scoville did. I love the mechanism where you're taking your worker around the field. You're trying to gather those specific resources of those colored chilies, whether they're purple, green, blue, whatever. There is a lot of choices in here. You have to be smart how you use your farmer, I guess. I don't know what that's called. It's like the walker. You're just going through the different things, and wherever you land.
The hiker.
The hiker, there you go. I forget what it's called, but...
Yeah.
The art production for the Tasty Minstrel version is really nice. The art is really nice. There's one big flaw in this game when it comes to Scoville, the Tasty Minstrel version.
Yep.
It is not colorblind friendly.
Nope.
The way they try to get around it is the depth of the chilies that they were giving you. Yep. And so, like, the brown ones are the tiniest, so they're more prevalent. The ghost peppers are really large and they're clear.
They're wider than they are long.
But when you're looking at it top down, it really does not, or at an angle when you're looking at the board and be like, wait, what?
Well, even the iconography, like, it shows the depth of it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have any way to,
and
like,
it's this
quantify
small.
that.
So this
it's like it's either that or that. You see, that's the difference. People on the podcast, you see, that's the difference.
Yeah, it is rough.
See that
it is very, very rough. So That's where I'm really going to knock this game, is in the art and production, because of the graphic design.
The art's pretty.
The art is great. The pieces and components are fine. The graphic design is the big issue. And when we're talking about like Sushi Go Party, the art is much better in Sushi Go. I personally think the art is fine. I like the new version with the Vincent Dutrait art. It makes it look a lot better, and I like the fact that they went out of their way to make sure this game is colorblind friendly. Yes. This has always been a knock for Tasty Minstrel games. They are not colorblind friendly at all, a lot of their games. But the art and production is where my main knock of Scoville is. There is a lot of meaningful choice in this game. I don't know if it's more than Sushi Go, but we'll see. Because you do impact other player strategies in both of these games. I can block off a spot where you're trying to go to. It helps me and it hurts you. I like that aspect of that there. You have to be smart and choose when you're going to use your chilies to buy cards, because if you're not first player and there's two people that are trying to go for your specific card, you have to make sure you get there first. So you're trying to find the best route to give you your specific resources to buy that specific card, because that's going to be in-game bonuses for you.
Yep.
It is not an easy game to learn. It is not an easy game to teach. And it took a little bit for us to understand it. And we're heavy gamers. We're used to these heavy games. There's a lot of moving parts in there.
You have a breeding table.
Yeah.
That kind of says how, and it uses the color wheel kind of, but there's certain combinations instead of secondary. Like if secondary mixed with a primary color, it becomes a brown pepper anyway.
And the brown peppers are useless for you unless you have something specifically for them. It is immersive. I do find it fun. The replay value is kind of there. There is, I think, like promos. I don't know if there's any expansions for it.
Right.
So it's tough for me. I really do like Scoville so much so I went out to my way to buy it. Yes, it goes up to 6 players. Mm-hmm. But that is not a good thing when we're talking about, it scales pretty well. But it also scales in time, too. For a 6-player game, it's going to be a long time. We played a 4-player game, and it took us nearly 2 hours for a teach.
Yeah, it's about 30 minutes per player.
Yeah, it is rough. So,
yep.
I like Scoville. It's a fantastic game. I don't see it moving on in my eyes.
Yeah, so Sushi Go Party. So a lot of the praises that I sung for Sushi Roll, I'm going to say for Sushi Go Party, except even on top of that, there's 25 to 30 different sushi-based cards that you can do. I love the different combinations. You have a menu board, and everyone has a little soy sauce bottle as their token marker. That's how you keep track of it. And the menu board is even inlaid, which is pretty awesome. So you pick a certain number of different types of foods, like whether it's rolls, like maki rolls or whatever. You pick a certain kind of entree thing, a dessert, and some special abilities, and you put the combination, and that's how you play. It plays 2 to 8 players. Entirely, which is huge. It's a great player count, and it doesn't take any longer regardless of the player count. That's one of the good things about pick and pass drafting, is that it's great at scaling. This is a 20 to 30 minute game no matter what your player count is. So that's huge, right? Mm-hmm. So that scaling, replay value, that's hands down Sushi Go Party, right? But one of the things I like about it, again, replay art and production, we already agree that there's a huge knock to Scoville. That's Sushi Go Party as well. Mm-hmm. But one of the cool things that I really like about it is, again, my favorite example of playing Sushi Go Party is how people would react to certain types of foods and how that's reflected in the scoring. So I tell people the two that describe it the most, desserts always score at the end of the meal, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But the two pieces that I really, really enjoy, that cracks me up the most out of all of them, one is tofu. Is if you have 1 tofu, it's 2 points. It's fine. If you have 2 tofu, it's 5 points. Pretty good. If you have 3 or more, it's too much tofu. It's 0 from that point on.
That's hilarious. Is too much tofu in my eyes.
Right, and I agree with that. But then eel is the opposite, right? It's really kind of gross. If you have 1 eel, it's negative 2 points. 2 eel, it's 0. But if you have 3 eel, you're okay, I see why people like this. It's 7 points.
Yeah, it grows on you.
It grows on you. That's just funny. Sashimi, you need 3 of them to score 10 points. Tempura, you need 2.
You know why the sashimi you need 3 to score points? Because you're not going to eat one sashimi. It's like a slice of meat. That's all. It's I need more to get full over here. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many cards in it. It's in a tin. That's this kind of game rights thing.
Yeah.
But outside of the tin, though, this is the go-to sushi.
I don't really knock them based on their box. The artwork on the box is fine and stuff like that. I won't knock them if it's in a tin. I will mention the fact that it's in a tin and I hate it, but I'm not going to knock them for it.
I will if that's the only difference in art and components, is whether you have a cardboard box or a tin. Cardboard box wins.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
But that's not just the case here, right?
Yeah.
The art is hilarious. The little anthropomorphic sushi is great. So, I mean, arguably, here's the thing. I know you said that Scoville is thematic. I'll give it meaningful choice. Sure, whatever. It's a really interesting little puzzle. I mean, and obviously Sushi Go wins ease of play, right? Which I think we already talked about that. Ease of play, replay value, and arm production. Okay, so it already goes
already moves on, yeah.
But I do want to just emphasize one more thing. Being in a chili pepper area, right? It's not as simple as just go, that pepper, plant them next to each other. We get a new one, right? We have literally a full university here that spends multiple agricultural hours trying to develop different types of peppers.
Yeah, but now, I get that. But it's inducive. It is immersive on a smaller level. You're trying to do crossbreeding through generations. Yeah. And you're trying just to showcase it in a board game.
I know, and that's cool. Again, I love that puzzle. It's just oh, well, we need 2 things of green peppers and 1 ghost pepper to make a chili. It's you're not going to cross-mogenate peppers in a food. You're going to take 1 type of pepper and you're going to put it in.
The hell you say?
That's true. I mean, the only example is Christmas, right? There's not very many meals, especially not the ones that they're doing.
You do realize that Christmas is the same chili, right?
No, I know.
The red grill, the red chili is aged more.
Yeah, that's the difference. But that's what I'm saying. You're not going out of your way to all right, give me a piece of habanero, give me a piece of ghost pepper, and then I'm going to take 3 green peppers and put them together. That's not really a thing to make those recipes. It's not. It's not really a thing.
You could tell you don't cook. You can tell you don't.
Give me an example of a recipe that does that.
I have a jar of pepper flakes that are 4 different peppers combined together that you can put in recipes, that you can put in as a seasoning. You want to also know what else you could do? I use paprika, I use green chili, and I use chipotle as a rub for my briskets when I smoke them. That's 3 different chilies.
Right. But I'm saying you're putting
on
it
one
as
recipe.
A flavoring on one recipe. But the thing is, the meals that they do it, since they're not having other ingredients, it's just, those are just the recipe. It's just this type of pepper, this type of pepper, this type of pepper. Hey, suddenly we have a stew. That's not how that works. You have to get other ingredients, and you're not just crossbreeding chili.
That, but
I'm saying that puts me away from the theme. Is the combination of the farming and the weird.
Yes, it is. Because he doesn't cook. He eats 5 different things. So.
All right, fine. But regardless of that,
as
that's
someone
my
who does
personal...
cook and bake and do all these things, I know how to use recipes.
Oh my goodness. All right, fine. Regardless of that, I don't care.
We're in agreement. Sushi Go Party.
We still agree. Sushi Go Party moves on. Sorry, Scoville. Which kind of hurts a little because I really do enjoy Tasty Minstrel games, the vast majority of them, and I'm still a little sad to see them gone.
And honestly, I enjoy the games that Tasty Minstrel has done. I like the fact that those games are coming out on better companies, because my biggest knock is Tasty Minstrel was not colorblind friendly. Yeah. I've struggled with every single Tasty Minstrel game I've ever played.
Yeah. Luna. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Tasty Minstrel, rest in peace. Yeah.
All right, moving on to our last of the 4th round here, and this is going to be Point Salad versus Tokaido.
All right, here we go. I'll be starting us off, and judging by this pattern, I will take Point Salad.
No, you get Tokaido.
All right, I get Tokaido.
Honestly, in all honesty, these are 2 of the lightest games on this list.
Yeah, I mean, Tokaido against any other game would be the lighter one. All right, so Tokaido, let's talk about that. First off, art and production. That wins. Hands down. That
you know how much this actually wins?
Huh.
The fact that Stonemaier picked this game up and are not doing anything to the art. They have actually talked to the artist and told them to leave it.
Yeah, exactly. It's beautiful. It could not have been done better.
It is the prettiest game on this list, I think.
By far. And that's not to say that the art in Point Salad is bad, because the iconography and the art works really well, and I like the style of it, but it's still not... It doesn't hold a candle to Tokaido. With that being said, though, the Tokaido by Antoine Boza, super interesting little game. You're traveling on the path of Tokaido. The route that you're taking is this long journey. That's essentially like the Route 66 of the United States, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to the prefecture of Tokaido. I think it's a prefecture. I might be wrong. It might be the landmass.
I think it's prefecture, but I think it's before they were prefectures.
Yeah, but you're going to Tokaido, and you're traveling along this route, visiting shops, temples, restaurants, meeting the locals, and just getting points in a bunch of different relaxing ways. It's really kind of neat how it works. Essentially, all it works is on your turn, whoever the player is the farthest back, that's whose turn it is, you can jump as far ahead as you want. Simple as that. The farther ahead you go, though, the longer you have to wait till it's your next turn. You normally have 1 or 2 pieces, depending on the number of players. There's a few milestones of each of the inns that you have to stop at, and that's where you get your meals. Mm-hmm. And the first one to get there will get the first pick of the meals. And generally speaking, you want the more valuable ones. And
then I think with the meals, too, you're trying to get different meals. You don't want, like, the same meals.
Right. You want to try different flavors. You want to try different inns. I love the building of the landscape cards. There's landscapes that build up a panoramic picture, beautiful art on it. Visiting the locals will give you like a little ability. Going to hot springs will get you like 2 or 3 points. It's real simple, like easy way to get points. Shopping will get sets of stuff. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many cool things you could do. You imagine that if you just wanted a traditional trip in Japan, like you would be doing a lot of the same stuff, and it's not just like a trip for like tourists, right? It's a trip for locals too. Mm-hmm. And they really embrace the theme, and the art that they put into it really brings it out. And it's a really simple but interesting mechanism of just whoever's the farthest one back,
I think it was
just
like
leapfrog it, right?
The first one to do it really
I mean, it's the first one that really hit a lot of radar. I don't think it's the first one that did it, but I think it's one of the first that really made it a widespread mechanism. Because this game and Takenoko both came out at the same time, give or take, and they were both like big radar games. And since they were both by the same designer and different enough, but also both very like heavily Japanese influenced and had all this cool culture and good components, Asian influence.
Takenoko's China, but
right, but right, yeah, fair enough. It is, but Asian influence, but you could tell he had a style, right, and he really tried to make his games reflect that style.
Yeah.
So this one, I don't own it anymore. And that's just because I stopped playing it a long time ago.
I'm never going to own... Well, I was never going to own it, and then Stonemaier bought it, and I collect Stonemaier games.
And so now you're going to have to buy it.
I'm going to buy it, yep.
The Duo version is really cool.
Yeah, you're telling me about this.
And they even made... Najimi, I think is what it's called.
Najimi is a sequel.
That's like the sequel to it, where it's like, a loop and stuff. So, I mean, it's amazing. I'm curious to hear what you have to say about Point Salad.
Yeah, I was looking through the list while you're going through your discussion, and I don't know... I was looking through the list. Like, there's a lot of stuff in here. Point Salad, both games are fun to lose. Both games have some decent player interaction. Usually, Point Salad, it's more... cutthroat than Tokaido is, because someone's like, why'd you take that card? I need that. Why did you do that? No. And the reason why I'm taking it like this one is my one gripe about Point Salad. It's so mechanistic. It could be anything, to the point where we both have an EV version of this game, and it works just as fine. It's a Korean import that we brought in. But I really do like what Point Salad does. It is fun. There is those memorable moments where like, oh, if I did this and I do this and I grab this, now I'm scoring the points for this. But this card also works with these cards. Now I'm scoring the points for this as well based on these cards. Oh, I feel clever when I do something really correctly. The art is fine in this game. So both of these games have really good, meaningful choices to a certain extent, but they're not like heavy, meaningful choices. You will impact more so, somewhat, in other people's strategies in point salad than you would with Tokaido, because it's all just dependent on... It's the ratchet scale. So if I can go here, or I can jump ahead because I notice you're trying to collect the same kind of amount of food, like, I don't need anything here, so I can jump ahead. That is my main choice there. But if I, play, fine, I'm just going to meander on the road and see where I'm going here. It's fine there, too. I can play either way. Where this one, you're trying to either hate draft or get something because both of you are trying to score different ways for tomatoes. Or I'm like, I'm going to leave those tomatoes out there because I know you're going for them. I don't need them because they're going to be negative points for me on this card. So I'm going to do this one instead and take this card. And you hear the other person at the table, why? Why would you leave the tomatoes for them first off? And second off, you take the scoring card I'm trying to work for. That kind of thing. So they both have it. There is a little bit more depth and strategy in Tokaido than there is in... I really don't know. I'm hemming and hawing on this one because of this next category, ease of play. Both of these games are really easy. Mm-hmm. They're both easy to teach. They're both easy to understand. They're both easy to learn. Tokaido is by far one of the most chill games you're ever going to play. Mm-hmm. But Point Salad is quite fun in that aspect. The only thing what I was going at him and calling here when it comes to the ease of play action is that I think Tokaido has an easier time to get to the table because of how beautiful that game is. Because art and production, I'm giving to Tokaido hands down. Even though, and the reason why also when it comes to the pieces and components on Tokaido, the little coins, they made it look like Japanese coins, so they're fantastic to the point like some people I've known have exchanged real life cash to get Japanese coins to put into their game. Yep. So it's like, and then the replay value too. Point Salad doesn't have any expansions. They have different standing points and stuff like that. I know Tokaido has one expansion.
Point City, which is an expansion, yeah.
Yeah, but that Point City is not an expansion. They don't mix their. It's its own little thing.
And there's a sequel to Tokaido anyway, so that moots that.
Yeah,
right? But yes, Tokaido does have an expansion.
Yeah, that much I remember. Mm-hmm. Both are fairly quick. I think Point Salad is just a little bit quicker because you're doing the journey throughout the game. Both scale pretty well. I think Tokaido is 1 to 6. Point Salad is 1 to 4 or 2 to 4, right?
Something like that.
Tokaido is going to be 1 to 6. It is or 1 to 5, something like that. It is currently 2 to something. They are making a solo version of it when it goes to Stonemaier. So I like this one has been the hardest for me, because both are relatively good. I personally think Tokaido is going to move on, but you want to go break it down?
Yeah, let's break it down. So art and production, that's Tokaido.
Tokaido, yeah.
Game immersion, I think that's Tokaido. Because here's the biggest thing I have about it. Point salad is a gamer term. If you're not a gamer,
it's very meta.
That makes no sense. Like, what does that mean, point salad? That's a term for games that no matter what you do, you get victory points in a bunch of different combinations away. That was a term that was used to talk about, say, Stefan Feld games and other Euro designers. It was like, this is just a point salad. No matter what you do, you get the points in a different way.
Right,
so they made a joke title to describe point salad.
And that annoyed me for so long.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't relay to other people. Like, outside of gaming, that makes no sense to them. What a lame title. Oh, it's like, they couldn't think of, like, a good way to make a salad pun, so they just said point salad. That if you're not in gaming, that's probably a lame, like, boring title.
Yeah.
So, because of that alone, like, that I don't think would ever attract anybody to come join it at the table by the title alone. So, I'm just throwing that out there. That's such that makes it so not immersive. And
in French, it's even worse. They try to make it a wordplay with the name.
Oh, really? Oh, no.
Oh, God.
Oh, no. Yeah, see, I mean, that's what I'm saying. So, game immersion, you don't feel like you're making a salad. You don't, not thematic. But the traveling is very immersive. And honestly, like, even though, I don't know if anyone's more fun to lose, but I know Tokaido is incredibly calming.
It is.
And I feel like anytime I play that game, whether I win or lose, I feel like I've gone on a zen. And it's so calming, and it has no right being as calming. That's why I think game immersion also goes to Tokaido. And with that being said, I mean, point salad is easier to play. Yeah. But replay value.
That's where that was the main one I was hemming and humming. Yeah, point salad, simplicity and familiarity of the mechanism.
Yeah.
You're either drawing 2 cards or taking one
Yeah, if you play
card.
G.A.M.E.R, you know how to play it. Yeah, you're just getting sets.
It's the likelihood to get to the table that was making it to him and haw here, because point salad, again, it's a joke.
Yeah,
people don't know what it means.
Yeah, no.
And Tokaido is just so pretty.
Yeah, it is. No, I mean, likelihood to get to the table, that would be Tokaido. But easy to learn, understand, and teach, that's point salad. So ease of play goes point salad. But meaningful choice, I mean, here's the thing, right? Also on the same thing, I think there's more meaningful choice in Tokaido, just because if we're playing a 4-player game of point salad, the cards that are out there, there's no chance any of them are going to... I can't guarantee a single one of those until my turn comes up.
So you're knocking it because of the arbitrary choices in a sense.
There's a lot of random and a lot of arbitrary choices.
I don't disagree. I think this is the tougher category for me, just because both of them really do well. But I'm fine with Tokaido moving on. I think it's a fine game.
Exactly. Now, I prefer point salad, but I agree Tokaido has every right being a better food game.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least it makes sense on this one because you are collecting meals and you're trying to do like different tasty foods and stuff like that. So and
let's be honest, point salad is only a food themed game because of that lame term. Because they're trying to
as I said, it's so mechanistic.
It is a food game
that they gave us Eevee, point salad Eevee, where you're trying to score based off Eevee evolutions.
Yeah.
Doesn't change really anything of the game. You're still drawing either one scoring card or 2 cards in the tableau.
That makes way more sense than point salad. It really does. All right, so that means Tokaido moves on, and that is the end of our quarterfinals.
All right, so the first game eliminated was a Feast for Odin. It had 24% of the vote, which was not our best vote getter, surprisingly.
Man, we're going to get some hate mail.
Oh, yeah. But, mind you...
Daniel at everydayboardgames.com.
All right, second off was Sushi Roll, which only had 2% of the vote.
Oh.
Third was Scoville, which had a little love at 6% of the vote.
Sure, it's a great game.
Point Salad had more of the love, and they had 8% of the vote.
All right, cool. So now we're going into our quarterfinals, or semifinals.
Semifinals.
And now we'll have Agricola versus Abandon All Artichokes. Battle of the A games. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
You'll be starting us off.
All right, so I get Agricola again. You get all the little fun, easy
That's ones. Right. Let's go.
All right, so...
It's not even close to as well. Don't count out a small little card game. We'll find out.
Agricola is such a fantastic game. And out of all the Uwe Rosenberg's outside bonanza, this one actually fits this category pretty well. Because you are farming, you are growing the crops, you are tending to the animals and stuff like that. More so,
you have to feed your people.
Yeah, you have to feed your
bakery kilns.
You have to feed your people.
Bake bread. Yeah,
you get bread to feed your people. So it fits a lot of the criteria of this. Immersiveness of the game.
Yeah.
But I have so much fun playing this one. I used to own it. I don't own it anymore because you have it, and I don't need it for my other game group because they weren't too big of a fan of it. They found it fine. They just thought it was too many steps.
Yep.
And there's a reason why Agricola and Feast for Odin didn't win our Uwe Rosenberg last year.
Yep.
And because of the way our criteria falls. Both games are fun to lose. I like both games pretty well. Abandon All Artichokes has the more memorable moments. That's the thing, is like you mentioned it when there's someone who's like, you just draw up. You can go. That kind of thing. I love that aspect. And no, it doesn't get old. I play Abandon All Artichokes. It's one of my most played games because my other game group, that's their favorite game, her favorite game, Outside Little Devils. And so she likes to play it. I actually ended up getting them a copy recently for them to have because that's how much they like that game. Mm-hmm. So game immersiveness, I think slightly it goes to Abandon All Artichokes, but for me, the meaningful choice of a game, the meat and potatoes, this is Agricola. This is hands down the most that is left in this category in these games is the most where it has those choice. You can impact other players. You have to be smart how you play this game. AP can be a bit of an issue compared to Abandoned Artichokes because there's really not that much AP in Abandoned Artichokes. There's no arbitrary choices for you per se in Agricola because there's a lot of places that you can go. You can get blocked off and stuff like that. But the AP will get you. Yes. And it will get you hard. Abandoned Artichokes is a much easier game, so I'm not going to...
Yeah, he's a player.
Replay value, I think, is where Agricola moves on. And I think, for me, Agricola moves on just slightly. But let's hear your thoughts on Abandoned Artichokes.
Agreed. Ease of play is Abandoned Artichokes. I don't even need to talk about that. That's just so obvious. It's a world apart. Game immersion, agreed. I think Abandoned Artichokes gets that. Just because it feels thematic. You're getting rid of your vegetables. You're potting them off. Every single turn has that exciting moment. And it's this build-up as, like, how can we keep drawing artichokes? How do they keep getting, like, are they multiplying? Like, what is going on?
Well, I also like the fact that, like, okay, I'm almost ready to get this done. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, I'm getting close. I know I'm getting close. And then someone picks that card where you have to trade cards to the left and stuff like that. Or they dump artichokes into your discard pile, and you're like, God.
Not again. Yeah, it's so fun. Yeah. I think art and production is where it really boils down to, because I think ease of play and game immersion go to Abandoned Artichokes. Meaningful choice, agreed, Agricola, and same with replay value. That is Agricola, although it's very much longer than that.
But it has the expansions.
But all of the decks of cards, that's where it sets apart. I'll give that. So art and production is where it really boils down to.
The art is better in Abandoned Artichokes.
The art is better. Yeah. The pieces and components, they have discs for workers. And the original version, I don't know if this is the revised version or if this is the original version. The original version only had discs for all of the animals. There were just different colored discs. And all the crops, there were just different colored discs or cubes or whatever.
Yeah.
And you had a big disc for your worker. It wasn't actual meeples or whatever they have now. Now, granted, that is the version that I think most is out, and I think that's the only fair way.
Yeah, and you can also get the 15th anniversary edition too. So
yeah, exactly. The you live in the past. Meeples are so cute now. Yeah, and I think they're pretty much the standard one.
Yeah, it's the standard now.
So, and I'm okay with counting that as the main one. Meeples are adorable. I think it's Clemens Franz who does the art for this, and he has a knack for making very specifically unique style of art.
Yeah.
But again, we agree, art goes to Abandoned Artichokes. Graphic design. There's a lot of words on both of the games.
Yeah. A lot.
I don't know that the graphic design is better in one or the other.
I think it's easier to read in Abandoned Artichokes than it is in Agricola.
Sure. And
I'm just going for, like, people who have issues with sight.
Yeah, and see, here's the thing, right? It's not really reliant in Abandoned Artichokes to rely on the vegetable type. Like, you could see our big old giant card across the table. You'll know what vegetable it is.
Yeah.
But the thing is, all of the different resource types in the original one, and unless you get the actual different, like, pieces for read or the upgrade kits, those are still just different colors of discs. But the icons are in the shape of the resource.
Yeah.
So that, immediately the graphic design is like, oh, I'm looking for a twig. Oh, it's the brown cube. Or the brown disc. Like, and there's oranges and yellows and tans. So again, the pieces and components, I'm willing to call it a wash for the graphic design and the pieces and components. Like, sure, even if we say that there's more wooden bits and it's fun, wooden bits are cool, versus just a card game, sure, I can call it a wash, but the art's better in Abandoned Artichokes, and I think the graphic design is too.
Yeah, I think the graphic design is slightly better.
Which means I think that pushes Abandoned Artichokes over.
Yeah, looks like it. We have an upset of brewing.
This is a dark horse, man. I was not expecting that. Abandoned Artichokes moves on, beats out Agricola.
Man, a little card game from G.A.M.E.R has took out Uwe Rosenberg twice.
Yep. Man. We're going to get some... Yeah, I'm sorry,
God. Oh, God. Yeah, we're going to get so much hate here.
We're going to get some hate. All right, Sushi Go Party versus Tokaido. What's done is done. You guys are paid active. Like, I mean, maybe the people at G.A.M.E.R, if they sponsored us, yeah, I could see why it would seem a little biased, but...
No, we just like their stuff.
Yeah, we appreciate their games. All right, here we go. Now Tokaido versus Sushi Go Party. I can't believe I was saying that. All right.
You get Tokaido.
I'm starting off with Tokaido again. Okay. This is, I think, going to be the hardest one for me. Because this is the only game I think could realistically beat out a G.A.M.E.R game as far as art and production.
Ain't that the truth?
I mean, G.A.M.E.R makes amazing stuff. And one of the things about G.A.M.E.R games is that it's so accessible. They make their stuff so inexpensively because they're essentially a toy company, right?
Yeah.
They don't have to like get all these fancy pieces from everywhere and make it more expensive. They just don't do that. So G.A.M.E.R games are I always love them. But Tokaido, though, man, I think it wins on meaningful choice. I mean, because Sushi Go Party is pick and pass drafting. This is kind of drafting, but like you're moving along a line. You're converting certain things. There's different outlets to get victory points in different
because
ways.
He hates pick and pass drafting. That's why he's like, no, this is a better mechanism.
I don't like that mechanism. I agree. But I don't argue the fact that that's not a very simple mechanism that is very likely to get to the table.
You know what the big issue with pick and pass?
Yeah.
And this is my big gripe about it. They keep changing the way it goes. So one round we're going to the left, the next round go to the right, and everybody gets confused.
Yep.
It's like, oh, wait, we're going this way
Sushi
now.
Go Party does not do that. It's always to the left.
Okay, I forgot about that part, because the original Sushi Go is...
Nope.
No? It's always...
Never does.
Oh, I'm thinking Planted. Planted is the one that changes it.
Everything else, every other drafting game changes
goes left
directions.
and right, yeah. Seven Wonders...
Sushi Go never cared.
Because it doesn't make sense.
Which I appreciate. Yeah, I mean, like, sure, it's like, oh, well, you're just hate drafting for this person. Okay. Don't sit next to him next time. The game's 15 minutes. Chill. Like, it's not a big deal, right? So, it's not a game that's complex enough that needs that level of interrogation.
Yeah, it's always to the... is it to the left or to the right?
Pass it clockwise, I think.
Yeah,
or whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's always one direction, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, okay, ease of play, I mean, I give that to Sushi Go. I give it that. Meaningful choice, I think, is Tokaido. Art and production, I think, is Tokaido. And I think game immersion is Tokaido. As much as I do think Sushi Go is immersive, but replay value, that's, I think, where I hem and haw on that. So let's see what you say about Sushi Go
I
Party.
disagree with you on the game immersion. I think Sushi Go Party is the game immersion thing, because I get hungry when I play Sushi Go Party.
That's the advantage of not liking sushi, I guess.
Because I'm sitting there like, I can go for a tuna roll right now, or and something along that line, or sashimi and stuff like that, the wasabi. So that really does give me that immersive there. Both games are fun to lose. I feel more fun aspects of Sushi Go Party because I am actually making more choices in my head and stuff like that. It's like, I could take this to help me, or I could take this to hurt him. Plus, it allows me to play in the dessert game now. That kind of thing. It does have a lot of player interaction because you could see someone hoping like, oh, I hope that comes back to me and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden you hear them pick up their card and you're like, son of a, someone took it. That kind of thing. Yeah. Or when someone lays down the card that they ended up taking, they're like, no, I was hoping that would come back this way.
Yeah.
I like those aspects of it because it is those stand-up moments that make you go, okay, this is funny. This is hilarious. It makes you get those belly laughs and stuff like that. I'm like, sucker, I got the pudding now. That kind of thing. That's why I think, for me, Sushi Go Party is more immersive. Because I have played Tokaido, and it's not as bad as like Seven Wonders, where I just play Tokaido, and I'm playing my character, and I'm just drinking a beer, and I'm just shooting around the table, but I'm not really engaged in the game talking around the table. We're just living life, playing a game kind of thing. I'm not engaged in the game. It's not immersive to me in that aspect. I'm just playing a game and talking. It's not table talk as in role-playing or getting into your character. It's more table talk like, hey, how's such and such kids doing? Or how is Betty doing? Did she get out of the hospital kind of thing? It's more of a shooting the breeze kind of game rather than actually getting immersive into that game with those memorable moments in the table talk. The art and production, Tokaido wins hands down. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And how's it going, Illuminous?
Hey, Illuminous. Thanks for joining us.
I agree with you on the meaningful choice. I think that is Tokaido. Because, again, you can impact other player strategy if you hate draft and stuff like that. That's there.
Yep.
You have to be smarter with how you play your character when you're going through Tokaido, because the way you go through the road and stuff like that is like, if I go here, I can grab this artwork, and I'm still going to get a second turn. I don't really need anything else that's on the way there, so I can immediately jump all the way ahead, be the first one to the end, get the kind of food that I need, that kind of thing. So there is a lot of depth of strategy. How you play the game based on that ratchet system, I think, is what people have basically decided to call it. Yeah, the ratchet
system, sure.
The arbitrary choices in Imp AP, neither one of these have that at all. I just think the impact of the way Tokaido uses its impact in the game is better in the meaningful choice. Sushi Go, ease of play, hands down. And I think replayability, for me, goes to Sushi Go Party because of just outside that box of the expandability and the length of time and scaling well. The expandability goes to Tokaido. It has the expansion. Sushi Go Party doesn't. But the minimum number of plays for the full experience, because of every bits that you can change, you're going to play a different game each time because of what you add to the game and what you take out of the game, compared to Sushi Go, where it's always the same thing. And then finally, the length of time and scaling well. Sushi Go Party plays quicker. Not much, but it plays quicker.
Okay. So ease of play and replay to Sushi Go, meaningful choice in production to Tokaido, right? Mm-hmm. So the only one that I think we disagree on is game immersion. So let's break it down real quick, just per category, and if we don't agree, then we'll throw it to the vote. But so game fun to lose. I think they're both fine to lose, right? I don't think that either of them. Yeah, Slamwood. It wasn't on our list. Even if either of us have played it, I played it way back in the day. It's not on our list, which should be. But anyway, game's fun to lose. I do feel personally I like the Zen more in it, but I'm not saying that one is more fun to lose than the other, because I do like in Tokaido when you sit back and you're like, well, I got to see this entire scenery. I visited some fun shops. This is what it, even though I lost, this is probably what I would do, is I'd go see Mount Fuji, right?
No, I get that.
And that's my personal thing. I get why the sushi meal, if that's what you're craving, it gets you hungry. Yeah. So I'm totally cool with that. The player interaction, there's no table talk in Sushi Go. The player interaction I feel comes through in Tokaido, and this is just what I feel, is the fact that since they designed that track so thin, and even though a couple spaces can hold two pawns at the same time, that to me translates to I want to go to this temple, but since I'm going there later in the day, it is just flooded with tourists, right? Yeah. And it's I don't want to spend 3 hours trying to wait in line for this. I'm going to go to this shop instead, and I'm going to go look down this shopping area. And I feel that, I think that comes through more.
But you're talking about the immersiveness of the game, but you said table talk. There's no...
Right, the player interaction is exactly what I'm saying, is that when it's if you took that part that I was trying to go to, it's guys, I've been really trying to show my respect to these temples. Why are y'all showing up there and not making it so it's possible so I could donate? Or it's how come you keep getting to this landscape and painting this picture before I can? I feel there's a lot of that just because of that ratchet system, I think works well for me. And then finally, you have the memorable moments. I don't think any of them have memorable moments. I really don't. Other than just at the end of the game where you're okay, let's see what we created. That's it, right? So I think personally, it's actually a wash. I don't know that I think either of them are more immersive than the other.
For me, I said,
I think Tokaido feels more immersive. As
going through it like you were, I'm completely opposite on the what you were saying. There's more memorable moments every time I've played Sushi Go Party than you have. I feel there's more player interaction because there's that table talk. Okay. Someone put down a pudding and they're I was hoping that would come back to me. Yeah. More so, like I said, I've played Tokaido and I did not talk about the game once. We're just talking about life in general.
See, I do all the time. Anytime I used to play it, we would talk about, I would want to talk about Japanese culture and talk about, which temple would this be? Would this be the one that's out in the middle of the ocean in the bay? But that's just a hobby of mine that I'm really into, right?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong.
But that's me, right?
I'm a fan of the Japanese culture, too. One of my bucket list is to go to Japan and Tokyo and go to Kyoto and visit the shrines and stuff like that.
Guys, we'll be back next week. Right.
But that's my kind of thing. But
really, yeah.
I really don't get into that. Every time I've played Tokaido, we don't talk about the game. We're just okay, it's your turn? Okay, I'm going to go here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get my card. Oh, yeah, and then how are they doing and stuff like that. Right. I'm not engaged in the game other than, it's my turn. Now I'll take my turn. Right. Let's see where the board is.
Sure.
And that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. I just don't get that immersiveness in there, those memorable moments, because I'm not paying attention to the game.
Yeah.
And so for me, with Sushi Go, I get that when you hear like the hate draft going on, or someone took the eel and you're like, no, that's going to get me. Right now I need that eel back over here because I'm going to get negative points at the end of the game. But come on. I need an eel to show up, and then you get the next set of cards for the next round. You're like, there's no eel in here. Someone better have an eel over there. So you're thinking that aspects of it. So for me, I think it's the game immersiveness is Sushi Go.
All right.
I don't think we're gonna disagree.
Yeah, I think it's Tokaido, but I think we both have valid points. So let's just throw it to the vote in like probably the most polite way that we've disagreed. Yeah. Because we both admit that it's like hugely subjective, right?
Yeah, it like, very much so.
Just because of how we're personally feeling it. But yeah, we just both each have those moments.
So the way it works here, Tokaido will be moving on at 6% of the vote. Hold on.
No, it's won't.
Oh, sorry. Wrong one. I was looking at Sushi Roll.
Whoa. Call me
Tokaido has been eliminated at 6% of the vote. Sushi Go Party moves on to 28% of the vote.
All right. So.
Okay, let me get this straight. We have G.A.M.E.R facing G.A.M.E.R in the food category.
Correct.
All right, so as I mentioned earlier, Tokaido was eliminated at 6% of the vote. And then Agricola was eliminated, and it had 10% of the vote.
Yep. Luminous pointed something out. It says, I'm surprised there isn't many good food board games. Get on it, Danny. I'm working on it.
Don't encourage this.
I already have something that's in the works right now.
Matches Food Edition.
Hit me food. It's food fight.
If you missed it earlier, we were talking about making recipes. He would have burnt all the food because he doesn't know how to cook.
Hey, if it can't be microwaved, it ain't worth eating. That's all I'm saying. All right, so now our finals is Sushi Go Party versus Abandoned Artichokes. Do you want to tell them the votes for the ones that were eliminated?
I just did.
Oh, Tokaido and the other one?
6%, and I believe I said that Agricola had 10%. You were busy laughing at matches over there.
That's true. No, I'm working on it. I have a food game that may or may not be in the works right now. All right, so with that being said, the finals. We don't take a side on this. We don't flip the coin of doom. We don't pull from the cup of doom. We break it down per criteria. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments too. If you played either of these, Sushi Go Party versus Abandoned Artichokes. Man, this is going to be a hard one.
Yeah, you know what? I'm just thinking about that. Why wasn't New York Slice on here?
It was just lower than.
Oh, was it just missed? It just missed. Okay.
I think, yeah. I mean, it was it?
I picked my 3 to begin with. So
no, yeah, I think it was just below Abandoned Artichokes.
Oh, okay.
Because I thought about putting New York Slice on my honorable mentions. The only reason I didn't is because I thought you were.
No.
Okay, well, fair enough. All right. Here we go. Let's talk about this.
All right.
Game immersion, art and production, meaningful choice, ease of play.
Here's my fun on this one. Which one's more easy to play?
Sushi Go. Sushi Go. Yeah, hands down. Because Abandoned Artichokes is action, selection, deck building, deck deconstruction. Just saying those words put half of our audience to sleep.
Both of
Sushi Go, pick a card. Throw the rest to the left.
So here's what I think. Like I don't disagree. But both of these are so ridiculously simple games.
That comparison genuinely made it seem like Abandoned Artichokes was hugely complicated. But I think ease of play only goes like, and also think about the context, right? Like here's why I say Sushi Go doubles up on ease of play. The likelihood to get to the table. Are you trying to make a good sushi meal, or are you trying to get rid of disgusting food?
Yeah.
Right? What would you rather play? Something like, I want to make something delicious versus I want to go away from something gross.
Which is funny, because in Abandoned Artichokes, that is not even the worst vegetable in that group. I don't know why you're getting rid of artichokes when broccoli's sitting there.
Broccoli's delicious.
I hate broccoli.
I love broccoli.
I can't stand broccoli.
That's the only vegetable I eat.
I'm not surprised. I eat a lot of the vegetables. I will not touch broccoli. Cauliflower is growing on me.
I will eat broccoli.
Yeah, but do you drown your broccoli in like cheese or something? Oh.
I eat it boiled. Or not boiled, steamed. Steamed broccoli. Plain.
Oh.
Oh, it's delicious. God. Yeah, it's the only vegetable I eat. Yeah, it's weird. Creative Chaos agrees with me. All right, so ease of play.
My wife likes broccoli too. It's the one vegetable I cannot stand.
Yeah.
So ease of play, Sushi Go Party.
Fine. More broccoli for me.
Right. I think replay value is Sushi Go Party as well.
Replay value is Sushi Go Party, hands down. Yeah.
All right, so here comes the tough one.
Meaningful choice. I think that's Abandoned Artichokes.
I'm not even going to touch meaningful choice. I was going to go art and production. I was going to say art and production. Is that Sushi Go Party?
Absolutely. It's like the same art. They're both anthropomorphic foods. Sushi Go Party at least has an inlaid board for the menu.
That is really cool.
Yeah. And the soy sauce bottles, that's just a tin. They're both in tins. That just has a cool tray.
All right, let's go. With that being said, that would have made Sushi Go Party win. Let's go game immersion real quick. We got to get our criteria.
I do feel, oh man, that is tough though.
Yeah.
But memorable moments goes to Abandoned Artichokes. We've been over that, right? Is the game fun to lose? Yes. Abandoned Artichokes, I think, is still more fun to lose.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
Yeah. But player interaction, again, I think is Abandoned Artichokes. I think this is a sweep for Abandoned Artichokes is more immersive.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
Cool. All right. And meaningful choice was Abandoned Artichokes. Right?
No,
we haven't gone there yet. Yeah. Art and production. What? Oh yeah, no, we skipped that. Meaningful choice. That's Abandoned Artichokes. There is more choice in it.
Yeah, because the way the tableau is in there.
You choose one of the actions. You use your actions in different combinations.
All right, AAA there. Art and production. The art, it's pretty much the same. So that's a wash right there.
Yep.
Graphic design. For me, that's pretty much a wash. They're pretty much the same.
Yep.
That's where it gets what you mentioned earlier. Sushi Go Party has that board, those pieces. Yeah.
If they made a party version of Abandoned Artichokes, I would be all over it. So that means Sushi Go Party wins our 2024 food season food/cooking game of...
Aren't we supposed to be celebrating the turkey holiday and fish one?
Yeah, sushi one, right? Thank you, Phil Walker Harding.
Yeah, no, and G.A.M.E.R, man. Good job on you. You guys have make really good food games.
And I mean, and not to slack on Abandoned Artichokes, talk about a dark horse, right?
Yeah. It took out two...
Masmo claimed we're biased too. Hold on.
It took out two Uwe Rosenberg games. Mm-hmm. It was a giant slayer. It just was worn out from the other two fights.
Yeah, that's right. David versus Goliath.
Yeah.
The Abandoned Artichokes put up a good fight. That is funny, though, that both of our G.A.M.E.R games were in the finals.
Yeah, and the thing is, when we're also talking about, like, food theme, these are the ones that really talk about food. I mean, you got vegetables in one game and actual food, even though they're cutesy, they're still food that you can get in the real world. So it is really food theme. Honestly, surprisingly, we didn't get a lot of cooking theme in this game.
No, not many. And, here's the thing. Like, as much as... I was honestly willing to ask the question, if Tokaido had moved on, I would just straight up ask you, are we willing to let it move on knowing how not of a food game it is? There is food in it.
Out of every single other game like Agricola, out of
Feast for Odin,
Scoville, I think this one... I would be okay with because the food part of the game is actually a big part of the game.
It is. It's a big thematic part.
It is a big set collection thing too. So it could win you the game if you play it properly.
Yeah.
So to me, that's fine.
That's fair. Cool. Well, we hope you've enjoyed our episode today, and man, this was something.
Yeah.
And hopefully that'll give you some good ideas, and hopefully now you're hungry. So if you ever want to contact us directly, you certainly can. Email us at everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com, and remember, email us with our code word today, GOBBLE. Put that in the body as well as a way to contact you, and in the subject line, put contest, and that enters you in a free ticket to be part of our giveaway. Also, subscribe to us at Instagram.com or follow us, whatever it is, Instagram.com/everydayboardgames to also get an additional ticket.
Again, you can subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, like I was mentioning earlier, or he mentioned earlier in the beginning of the podcast. All video uploads and reviews are on YouTube.com under YouTube.com at everydayboardgames. Subscribing to us gets you a ticket into the thing, but if you're there, why don't you like the video and comment down below and tell us your thoughts on the subject.
And you can join us on a live episode, like our friends Creative Chaos, Masmo, Illuminous, and anybody else who joined us in our conversation today. And remember, following us on twitch.tv/everydayboardgames gets you another ticket into the contest, and subscribing on here and paying us a little bit of your hard-earned money, which we certainly do appreciate, gets you 3 additional tickets for that giveaway.
And then finally, all audio versions can be found on most podcast platforms under Everyday Board Games Podcast. This includes Spotify, Amazon Music, Podbean, and Apple. And for you listeners, you can go to all these different sites and just subscribe to us, even if you prefer the audio side, and send us the code word to our email. This is how you do it.
All right. So we want to thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I've been your host, Daniel.
And I've been your host, Daniel.
And we want to thank you for listening to Everyday Board Games.
And remember, every day is a good day for board gaming.